some of the key people that we're working with right now, and the rest are working with us in various capacities. What we do is we help form capital for the startup community. We aren't an angel network. We're not a VC fund. But what we do is go out and we help angel groups find members for their deal. Many of the angel groups here love to find individuals that might want to join your group, because we found that individual investors are often more successful in a group than they are by themselves, given the cost of diligence and so forth. We help VC funds find limited partners, primarily through family offices. We had a dinner last night at Avergy's, and we had family offices come out and had some VC funds. So it was great to connect people that way. And then we also help high net worth start family offices. After the pandemic, there's the new virtual family office structure, where you don't have to have $100 million to make a family office work. You can do it with 25 to 50. And that's where we found the next generation of family offices coming from, were cashed out entrepreneurs that were doing we're in the 25 to $50 million AUM. And if you do a virtual model, you can actually make that work. If you're a startup and you want to pitch up here with these guys here in a moment, take a picture of that QR code and we'll follow up with you, and we'll see if this is a fit for your program. You'll see the companies that we pitch. There's Seed Plus Series A. There's not a lot of two guys with an idea here, because we are running a program that, you got to be a place to really be able to raise money through this process as well. We have a chat bot. I actually went to a KaiCon in 2013 here in Silicon Valley, and I interviewed 30 members of the Thai group there on entrepreneurship and mentorship. And I used that as my launch to an PeopleConnect podcast, and have since grown that to be 850 interviews with angel VCs, family offices, on what they invest and how they invest. When I talk to angel networks, what I found they always tell me is, I wish I put in more institutional knowledge into my group. Because when members come in, they're taking a long time to figure it out. They're making mistakes. And just about the time they get good at it, they retire or they go do something else. Here comes the next group, and they're making all the same mistakes as well. You can log on to the podcast and you can listen to what other people do to invest and how they invest and so forth. We also run a Startup Funding Espresso, which is a 300-word micro blog post that talks about startup funding investing. And I got carried away and made 2,000 of those. So decided, how do I get this out to the market? And decided when AI came along, that's the answer, put it into my own LLM. And then now you can just ask it a question, it gives you the answer, and it's searching all those podcasts and it's searching all those espressos that are out there. So we were originally called Texas Entrepreneurs Network in 2009, when I left my day job at National Instruments and started doing this around the state of Texas. I kept growing my investor network, and in 2016, I started getting calls from outside of Texas, mostly Chicago and Seattle and some places, saying, hey, I've talked to everybody in my town, now what? Well, come to me and I'll put you in front of investors in other parts of the country. That's what our value is. We're giving you a national perspective. And we changed the name to TEN Capital. That's what TEN stands for. And then we kept growing it, and then started working with entrepreneur ecosystems and called the TEN Capital Network. So when we come and do these events, it's not just TEN, it's TCA Ventures, it's Neutrino, Keiretsu, all these groups are coming together to help, and there's a lot of sharing of information and so forth. And so we do one in-person event like this a month around the country in the cities we talked about, and we do about a dozen online events each month as well. If you go to tencapital.group or take a picture of that, you can see what other events we have coming up. So you can stay engaged with the online events as we go forward with it. These are some of the cities we went to. I think this is the last year's event series, and this is the one we're going to this year. And these are the core cities that we go to. We go to each city twice in a year in order to maintain relationships with them. But these are the in-person events that we do. And then we have the podcast program. Go to investorconnect.org. You can find out more about us there as well. With that, let's talk about some of the partners that we have here today. I'd like to invite up first Molly of the Oracle Suite Accelerator. We run these events in Austin at the Oracle facility. It's big and beautiful as this one, and so we always love coming out. And so we came to this area. We said we got to go try out with Oracle, and Molly will tell us more about that.
Yeah. So thank you guys for being here. A bit about us. So we created the Accelerator program to help small businesses and startups have greater access to processes and mentorship and software. And, all of that is really required to grow and scale year after year. And so through this program, we pair our software with amazing resources to help startups scale and grow every year. And to achieve that goal, we partner with incubators, accelerators, VC firms, which you can kind of put the dots together. That's why we're here today. And so to learn more about the program, if you have a startup, you work with startups, and you feel like they would be a good fit, maybe they need some back-end software, maybe they want to have a mentor, maybe they want some office space to work out of and have really great access to an ERP platform, let me know. I'm your resource here, but thanks for attending.
We also have a sponsor here today, Accorto, which is a regulatory solutions company. We have with us Anders here, who will come up and talk about what they do at Accorto. We work with their counterparts also in the DC area, Christina and Jeff. And so if you could tell us more about Accorto and what you guys do there.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. I'm Anders Horn. I'm the Director of Business Development from Accorto. Basically, what we do in a nutshell is we work with medical device companies, life science companies. We do anything from general wellness all the way up to class 3. We're able to manage timeline and also cost estimate the projects all the way through FDA approval. We've got a great relationship with the FDA. And so with that, we're able to sometimes kind of de-risk and speed up a lot of the timelines. And yeah, anything that you guys have questions for, or if you've got a medical product that you're thinking about taking to the market, if you have any questions about it and you'd like to come talk to me, I'll be here. Thank you.
Thanks. We're also working with Keiretsu. We have Connie here. If Connie, you want to come up and tell us a little bit about the Keiretsu program. I think a lot of people know Connie, but for those who don't, it's great to hear about Keiretsu and the wonderful things that they're doing there as well. Connie?
Welcome to all the people that we invited. Thank you for joining us today. Keiretsu Forum at one time was the world's largest network of angel investors, but so many angel groups have started that we're one of now. I hate to say that, but I have to. But we've invested more than $1 billion in companies since we started. This is our 25th year. So we're having a big celebration at the end of November, really in the middle of November. If anybody's interested in joining us in San Francisco, we'd love to have you. So we look at companies on a regular basis, present them at least once a month. We have one company here today, very proud of. So that's it for Keiretsu Forum. Thank you.
Next up from TCA Ventures is Parisa. If you would come up and tell us a little bit about yourself and the group. I think most people already know TCA Ventures. Who doesn't know? But maybe you can give us the latest update about what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Parisa Khosrapur. I'm currently serving as the president of TCA in Los Angeles, but TCA, similar to Keiretsu, a larger group of angels in Southern California mostly. So we have multiple networks in Southern California. LA, I think as of today, is still the largest, but things change. Since inception, TCA has deployed, I think, over 500 million of capital in over 350 companies. And we typically invest in pre-seed seed rounds. We have similar pre-screening and screening events. We are now holding a lot more in-person screening events. We try to bring investors and startups together more frequently, but still members still like to be virtual. And then, of course, a lot of social events in the Southern California just to bring, because we do focus on not only angel education, but also startup education as well. And we have periodic webinars from a training standpoint. We recently partnered with TCA SoCal, so that's a great opportunity as we keep expanding the collaboration. And
Sounds good.
Thank you.
And thank you for talking about SoCal. We would like to have our Anshuman coming up and talking about what the current group is doing here. We work with Ty in Austin, Dallas, Houston, and other places, and it's glad to work with them here. Go ahead.
So much. Hello, everyone. This is Anshuman Sinha. I'm part of TCA SoCal. TCA is a global organization. Our presence is in 17 countries, having 65 chapters. Started about 30 years ago, and we have invested over $1 billion in startups. very active 3,000 plus accredited investors all around the world. We do deal syndication, and there is where Startup Steroid comes into the picture. It is a deal flow platform, and I'm happy to announce that TCA Venture Group is on our platform. So we do a lot of deal syndication over there. And we are a very active angel group. You know, our check size is anywhere from $50,000 to $250,000 by a single group. But collectively, when we do the deal syndication, it becomes up to $1 million. Just the Southern California chapter has invested in 36 startups so far, and we are going to launch our new fund this year. Thank you.
Next, we have Earl Hager of Neutrino Donut. We've been working with Earl in many ways, primarily with SBIR presentations to work on those raising money for the grant programs, and appreciate Earl's support for this program as well. With that, I'll let Earl tell you more about Neutrino Donut and what he's working on.
Hi, Earl Hager. I'm one of the few people that can tell you about Austin and Los Angeles at the same time, having lived in both of those cities. I'm focusing on the SBIR process of licensing multiple technologies from the VA and different universities, and are taking through the SBIR process and trying to advance them into the market through commercialization. I've been working with SBIR stuff for almost 10 years now, and I actually started off at the University of Texas, where we're doing international entrepreneurship programs in Hungary, Mexico, Chile, India, Korea, and other places. So the SBIR market's kind of interesting with all the stuff going on. As a screaming liberal, I can tell you that I think there's opportunities there. And I think that it's worth looking at these programs to take advantage of them. And like I said, I've got 3 different techs that I'm trying to move forward that I'm looking for contacts within the industry, because there's a glaucoma shunt, a heart stent, and a sleep technology with AI, with an AI component. And they're the 3 things I'm working on right now, and some chatting about them. Anyway, look forward to talking with you all, and thanks.
So thank you guys for supporting us and what we're doing. And then want to now go around the room and have each person talk a little bit about themselves, just so we know who's in the room itself. And in just a few moments, we'll kick off with our first presenter from Avergy. So with that, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, or your name and group you're with.
Hi, my name is Michael. We have 4 funds. Each fund, Earl. I want to talk to Earl. We serve this very early stage companies and put some energy behind standing them up. And cardio, neuro, ophthalmology, and aesthetic before areas that we focus on.
All right. So Mike from Octon, thanks for joining us. Yes.
Technologies that are goals, I go back to the document. Partnering to be business for the innovation team with those software services as well. Not to still because I'm not.
What's the name of your company? Grow Through Story. Help you tell your story as a startup. That's so important to do that with startups. They have to tell a story, or it's not going to go anywhere. I've heard a few. Yes, you.
18x exit, the rest were pretty much lost, so we're very even. Still looking forward to having a unicorn exit. Prior to life, I was managing with Disney, and we're still looking for investments.
Right. So Jeff Lay of Tech Los Angeles, thanks for joining us. Yes.
And Earl, I actually just got back from though I was only there for fun. I was serving. We will wake up for 2 days.
Okay, Ryan, thanks for joining us from RYCA as well. Gabby? Thanks for being here again. Thank you for organizing. Ken, go ahead. So that's Print3D. We'll hear from him in a few minutes. Connie. Thank you, Connie.
Revolutionary that is artificial intelligence technology, could be remote or controlled for hospitals or individuals to let people know if there's something. So I'm looking for angel funding to go into a launch, hopefully that by the end of the year. So that's,
Right. Thanks for joining us, David.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Experience as an entrepreneur. Gaming.
Okay, thanks for joining us. Next.
So what we do, we help investors with opportunities and also entrepreneurs with tools and how to be a good, obviously with their how to present. We do consulting services and also we're linked with connected to Robin behind me. But yeah, we do have different services that we provide for entrepreneurs and leaders.
So it's Anna from Ecosystem Ventures. Thanks for joining us. Robin.
PeopleConnect and Pitchforks. So PeopleConnect is a recruiting firm. We help startups add to their team, any position, any level, just that special puzzle piece person that a startup needs. And we also connect startups with investors at our weekly, virtual, in-person, or hybrid events. So if any investors want to join our panel, we've had a few investors that are in the room join, and we'd love to help any startups as well. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. You know, Pitchforks is a great thing to do. You get to meet a lot of great investors and a lot of great entrepreneurs through it. Look forward to your presentation, Francisco. Yes, next. Thanks for joining us, Anders. Next. Great. Thanks for joining us. Next. Good deal. Next.
I work as a licensing holder, so a lot of the stuff I do, that aspect of primarily particular for SaaS-based companies focused in those areas, but people wide range of different backgrounds who review the various potential investments. So
Great. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Chris, WKG Solutions, so we're a software development. But we straddle a line too with some of our startup clients. We do either discounted or low cost investments in them. And we've done a few of those, so we're a little bit, we're service provider and investor. We're local.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everyone, Ken Mariash, CEO of Sinaptica Therapeutics. We're solving Alzheimer's with personalized brain stimulation. 2 phase 2 randomized controlled studies done and published, completely successful results on every. I'm a reformed plastic investor too. I had to stop doing it when I got into the startup side, but I do make the occasional measure.
Great. Thanks, Ken. Bye. Great. Srini.
Stations and that's these are they can actually get us to the.
Great. Shaylee.
I'm here to pitch AI, which is the world's first conversational AI coach for teachers. I've had a lot of experience with Hall and with TCA. My previous company, LBK Product, started with development from and Catalyst and back again and started doing it again. And
Thank you for joining, Shaylee. Yeah. We've had a number of companies sign up for the NetSuite software because it helps do all the back office work and saves them money. Next. Great. Great. Thanks. Yes.
Strategies. We have the Silicon Valley Investor Conference on June 4th. You're all welcome to attend. I'll get you a free complimentary ticket, and we have June 29th in Newport Beach. We've done about 8 events in the last year, and with a full service media marketing capital as a company. So we're here to help everybody find more connections and help with their technology stack and invite everybody to join us.
Great. Mark.
Happy to invite me, Mark King, one of the co-founders of Biovind. We are commercializing a portable handheld pathogen and microbe detection system specifically for use in the oil and gas industry. And here can be later.
Can't wait, Mark. Yeah, next. Thanks for joining us, Lida.
Hello, everyone. Once again, I'm Sumi Foods, SoCal, and the current co-founder and CEO of Startup Steroids, the digital platform where investors meet with fundable startups.
Thanks.
Hi, David. Vision investing is capital. 25 years, I chaired growth capital conference. Bring together people looking for money, people that have. Biggest deal was 5 billion, it's B as in boy billion. We have several smaller ones, but if you have looking for money, give me a call. If you have money, give me a call.
Thanks, David. Nice to have you back, girl. Thanks. Next.
Co-founder and managing partner of Avergy venture fund capital. My co-founder is somewhat well known in the entertainment and the technology circuit. Also on the Baccarat Group NWA. We are targeting $150 million fund. Have an initial commitment out of Dubai for 10 million now, and slow fundraising process, but we're excited. I'm also the former executive director of TCA SoCal. Know a number of people in the room for that, but happy to be here and get to our mission goals here, hopefully next summer.
All right. Thanks for joining. Brayson, anything else?
I actually retired a few years ago from the corporate life. I've shot my dues. So now I'm back and and of course, if you're interested in to apply to TCA or check us out online and apply to be considered for us. We look at about 1,000 applications.
Great. Thanks, Brisa. And one more. You want to give us some more detail about yourself? Join us. So with that, we bring up our first presenter, Francisco of Avergy. Oh. So yes, come on up. We'll get you set up here. So we tried many ways to get feedback from the investors. You know, QR codes, fill out a piece of paper, and so forth. And what we landed on is we will text you from this. So for your mobile number that you have, we're going to text you. Are you interested in this deal? Yes or no. All you have to do is click one letter, a Y or an N. And you're done. And we came to this because we were doing this with QR codes, and people would scan in the QR code, people would hold it up, people would be doing all this stuff, and we get 3 responses. And it was just a lot of typing, I think, was the issue there. So here we ask for your indulgence to give us some feedback. You're in or you're out. And that's all we need to know. We'll pick it up from there. So with that, we'll go and pass it over to Avergy for the first presentation. Each one gets 10 minutes to pitch. I'll be timing him over here. We'll get 5 minutes for Q&A. We did have one person not able to make it for health reasons, and so we have a little bit more time, so we may extend a little bit. Were there any questions before we kick off? All right, with that, we'll pass over to Francis.
Okay, now so yeah, every minute, 70 airplanes take off, leaving a trail of carbon footprint in their wake. Aviation is one of the hardest sectors to decarbonize, and yet it represents over 2% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. But what if flying could continue to connect us without having to cost the Earth? At Avergy, we're working to turn this vision into reality. So we are on a mission to deliver scalable high-impact solution to the carbon problem by producing sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF, in the US. By combining deep expertise in aviation and chemical manufacturing, we're looking to produce fuel to power a clean fuel future. Okay, let's go into the problem. Aviation is on track to double its carbon emissions by 2050 if nothing changes. While technical development and operational improvements will help, this takes decades to have an impact and to scale. SAF, or Sustainable Aviation Fuel, is the only tool that can be implemented today and will be the most efficient and important strategy to meet the net zero goal by 2050 that aviation has set. But what is SAF? Okay, SAF is a non-fossil fuel that can be used in current aircraft without any modification and be operated in current airports. It can unlock up to 90% reduction of carbon emissions, and it's a proven technology. It has already been used in over 800,000 flights. All the main airlines are already committing to at least a 10% usage of SAF by 2030, with growing targets over the next 2 decades. So the market is ready, and yet the supply is only reaching today 0.5% of the fuel needs. So scaling up SAF is the key challenge here. By 2030, it's expected that the US there will be demand for 3 billion gallons of SAF, which is equivalent to a market of $21 billion. And it will continue to grow at a rate of over 7%, or 12%, depending on the target, but 7%. So that yet there are many barriers to scale this up, including high production costs, the limited sustainable feedstocks, policy uncertainty, and technology risks. So currently, there are 2 operating plants in the US for SAF. They're both based on using used cooking oil through a technology known as HEFA. But this technology has several limitations. First, the feedstock is scarce. It depends on feedstock imports, and it's bound to hit its limit soon. So the future is in non-food biomass. Non-food to not compete with the food industry. And so we have chosen to go with a new feedstock as using woody residues that don't induce deforestation. And through a pathway that would allow us to unlock future technologies as well as the use of green hydrogen once it becomes economically feasible. Okay, so Avergy is unlocking a low-cost, cleaner technologies, SAF, through a combination of technology and feedstock that few others can operate at scale. This is the combination of 2 independently proven technologies, gasification and Fischer chops, which we will integrate to produce SAF at scale. And it will allow us to unlock the highest carbon reduction potential, over 90%, while maintaining a low cost for the fuel. And it's also a proven path, so it can be used today. It can be implemented and used today in the US. The US is producing over 30 million dry tons of woody biomass every year, which could be converted into up to 2.5 billion gallons of SAF, or 10% of the jet fuel industry, of the jet fuel market today. So we have chosen this as our feedstock and made the strategic choice to locate our plants in the heart of the US wood industry, the US South, where we'll be able to leverage the high availability of local feedstock and the proximity to major airports as well. Okay, so what has happened so far? With the support of pre-FIT funds, we've been able to run pre-feasibility analysis and engage with technical operators and with the potential customers. On the commercial side, we've been able to advance and have some traction on the Latin American market, especially with airlines that are looking forward to having mandates in their countries, like Brazil or Chile. So, well, by speaking with key technology, by speaking with key decision makers, we have gotten 2 letters of support, LATAM Airlines and Volaris, and have spoken with other airlines that have demonstrated a strong interest, such as Golden Sky. On the technology side, last January, we partnered with 2 major technology providers, GTA Energy and Velocys, to do a DOE grant application. And that would allow us to build a demonstration scale plant biorefining. Now, the DOE decision has been postponed, and it may be a risk, but it still has been an invaluable opportunity and experience for us, allowing us to validate our approach, align technical priorities, and strengthen the foundation of our strategy. So, well, going a bit to the team that has been supporting all this so far. It's based on a strong team of experts in aviation, energy, engineering, and project management. The founding team brings extensive experience in aviation, while project director Brent Napton offers over 30 years in energy and project management, and technical advisor Bruno Cateni comes with a deep expertise in gasification and renewable fuels. Okay. So together we have put a clear roadmap. By starting with a demonstration scale plant that will allow us to produce and deliver fuel to our customers by 2027, while de-risking the integration for future larger commercial size plants. Then, well, our next step will be to build the commercial plant, which should be online by 2030, with a capacity for over 10 million gallons of SAF. By 2034, we expect our second plant to be online, allowing us to capture over 5% of the $7.5 billion US South SAF market in 2034. It will continue to grow. Okay, so now we're looking for seed investment to unlock the next milestones in our path. The seed investment, we're dividing it into 2 tranches, offering first mover financial incentive. And we're looking for the first tranche for $650,000 on seed notes based on a pre-money valuation of $6 million. The proceeds will be used for feasibility studies, plant location studies, and, well, to manage the operational expenses. So SAF offers a very attractive market opportunity with great potential, growth potential, and with a profitable business model. We expect our initial revenues to be by 2027 with our demonstration scale plant, and to reach positive cash flows once our commercial plant is in place by 2030. Over the next 10 years, the project is expected to have an IRR of around 47%. And the returns are not only financial, it also brings significant environmental benefits. Over the next 10 years, it will reduce carbon equivalent to 10,000 flights, long-haul flights from New York to London, or the amount of carbon absorbed by 18 million tree seedlings growing for the next 10 years. So to summarize everything, aviation urgently needs SAF, creating a great market opportunity. Avergy has a scalable solution based on proven technology and local sustainable feedstock. And we have put in place the right team to make it happen. Thank you for letting me share this. Questions? No? Yes. Well, in Europe, there are already mandates in place for SAF. Yes, they're taking us to 100% SAF actually by 2050. So the growth rate is a lot higher. It starts with 10% by 2030. That's why many US companies have been trying to commit to that too. The US is taking a different approach. Asia is trying to copy Europe's model, and some of the South American countries too. That's why I mentioned specifically Chile and Brazil are going with mandates for SAF.
Yes. Are aviation companies reluctant or receptive to SAF? Is it just about supply, or is there a reluctance?
No, there's a problem with the price. So it's a very expensive to build up. That's why, and well, there are projects that have had their problems aside, but it's a very expensive, so it needs government support right now. That's why policy is so important here. And that's why, well, with the mandates, it kind of levels the playing field. So whatever there's mandates, they're implementing it. Europe also has mandates for ESAF, which is super expensive right now. I mean, hopefully it will lower the price in the next few years, but well, we'll have to see how that goes on. But yes, and whenever there's not a mandate, there is a bit of reluctance. Not to SAF, I mean, they want to implement SAF. The problem is, like I said, is the fuel is a very important cost in airlines. And whatever you raise there, it impacts the customers quite a bit, especially well in Latin America, for example, the customers are super price sensitive and the margins are super small. That's why we're focusing on countries where there are mandates.
Yes.
2027. So with the demonstration scale plan, we'll be able to offer fuel to our customers for the first time. And then, and that's when we'll have our initial revenue. We're still working on, we need to go first through the feasibility study to be able to establish have a better idea of our price. Right now, with the pre-feasibility, we reach around a plus minus 50% on our CapEx and OpEx costs. We need to narrow that a bit before we can commit to delivering SAF at a certain price. But hopefully in the next, in the next few months and with the feasibility study, we would be starting to get offtake agreements for sure.
Yes.
So the reason we're not targeting others is because others have had other solutions. Aviation, the problem right now is the planes. The planes that they're buying today is the ones that they're going to be using in 2050. They have normally a 25-year life. So gasoline cars, well, we have electric cars and things like that, that in airplanes, there hasn't been such a solution yet, and it won't happen in the next couple of decades probably. And the boats, for example, are going a lot towards hydrogen or to methanol. Aviation is on track to approve methanol also as a potential. So that would be another potential path, gasification plus methanol to jet, but it hasn't been approved yet, so it can't be used. Today, the HEFA and the ethanol to jet are the ones that have been approved to use up to, in a blend up to 50%. And it's, there's being work to approve it to 100%. And there's already been flights flying with 100% SAF too.
The key to scalability is having feedstock. Can you talk about your situation there?
Right, the feedstock. Like I said, today, the two plants that are operational in the US depend on imports, mainly from China. I don't know exactly how they're being hit right now, but it's but yeah, and the biggest problem, it has to be used cooking oil. So gathering that going from house to house or through kitchens, or it's a really hard problem. The good thing about woody biomass is that it's concentrated in lumber mills. I mean, it's a waste, so it's not inducing deforestation, and it's not competing with the foods, because another potential feedstock would be using crops. And like we said, it's gathered in certain places where we could easily access it and bring it over. Then you have transportation costs. The conversion normally is from feedstock to SAF is 4:1. So you have to be close to your feedstock normally.
Yes.
Before you get to the lab scale production or modeling, what will it involve? Fairly modeling?
Feasibility involves first engineering, already working directly with the technology providers. Like I said, we engage with them. We have several ideas of what their quotes would be. But that's when we start working already with our location selection. Once we have the location, we can work, refine our engineering. And while we do have some lab work for sure, most importantly, studying the feedstock more deeply, understanding the carbon, the humidity, the amount of hydrogen that will output, all that. I mean, mainly what we need is carbon and hydrogen. Everything else would be a byproduct, and we have to. And another key problem here that we are studying and understanding is how to deal with all these byproducts. Mainly, I mean, a lot of them can be sold, but some of them they're waste, and you have to deal with all that. So yeah, you get more carbon than what you need. So you have excess carbon. There are several things you can do with that. You can just vent it because since it comes, but that's not ideal. And you're losing a product that you can sell it as I mean, you can liquefy it and sell it, or you can sequester it and put it underground. That would raise actually the amount of carbon reduction that the SAF is assigned. The thing is, of course, the cost of sequestrating carbon versus the price that you can, how much you can increase the SAF itself, the price of the SAF. Right. I mean, a lot of these technology providers already are already doing they have some sort of plant already. So we can go and test our fuel, but yes, we need to do the whole integration, and we could try and do the lab scale. We thought about it. The biggest problem is most technology providers don't, I mean, especially if they already have something proven, they don't want to be working on a small scale. So it's really hard to get engaged, to do to do a replica of what you would do at a big scale. You could do something similar, but not exactly the same. The thing is the cost of doing that versus how much you actually take out of it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. So we're going to send everybody a text or their mobile. If you could give us a yes or no on that, that'd be great. Thank you guys for taking a moment here.
I was gonna be in the end of the beaches.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Oh, it's good. My name's Kane. I'm with Print3D Technologies. We are a 3D concrete printing construction technology company, and we are focused on being one piece of tackling the affordable housing crisis. In the United States alone, there's over 7 million affordable houses that we're short. With this year, we're slated for about 1.5 million new construction starts, and only maybe a third of those are going to even touch affordable housing. So that gap of what's needed, what's available is continuing to grow year over year. Everyone I think is aware housing is crazy, particularly in, metropolitan areas. California is among the hardest hit. Construction costs continuing to rise 30% in 5 years. And what's going on in the construction market isn't really focused on tackling those problems. The technology that we have is very similar to what we were doing 1,000 years ago. And over the last 100 years, there's been what's probably the equivalent of squeezing water from a rock in the technology. There's been improvements, but they've been very incremental and been quite slow. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but I want to share a little bit about what we're doing with automation, 3D printing, and a bit of AI to be a part of the solution. We don't feel like we're the entire solution. It's a huge problem, but we very much see a really good market fit for what we're doing. So a little bit about us and our team. We are a group of 3 to 4 individuals who have varied backgrounds in business. So Lance, one of the co-founders here in the cowboy hat, he's a 3rd generation owner of a manufacturing company. So he's one of the lucky few, I guess, or the skilled few 3rd generation family business who's actually doing well and growing his core business. He's had an exit in the last few years of another company he helped start, which is fantastic. And then the other co-founder, Craig, he's got about 40 years in residential real estate portfolio management, hard money lending, and business operations. And then my background is primarily in construction, running various teams of project management in high-end residential production and also some light commercial. And then I've got about 5 years of background in precast concrete, so a lot of understanding of high performance concrete technology and what's out there, and really good understanding of kind of where the market's going. Just not from an academic research. We lean on the guys and gals in the universities who are doing great research that really help propel this technology forward. Quick question, has anyone seen 3D printing, particularly of houses in concrete around? Okay, so it's all over my feeds. It's what, the algorithm obviously is feeding me. But I'm always surprised to see the number of people who are familiar with it, and then just where it's continuing to grow. So it's exciting times. Lance, again, third generation, 40 under 40 for Dallas Business Journal, master's in accounting. He has kind of a CFO background. It really gives us a lot of, sharp eyes on that end, which is fantastic. And then Craig, he's got his, Ready Mortgage company, a bunch of residential assets under there, property investment, data analytics, and then just early kind of adoption and automation for business processes, which has been super helpful for us to gather a lot of data on our end, understand what went well and what went wrong when we're doing prints. So the industry, like I said, is stuck in the old ways. It's worked really well in a number of ways. America, as you know, is a very rich nation in lumber and building materials, and we've really extracted a lot of that, but we're not making the improvements that we need to bring the price of houses down, and to build the quality and the number of houses that's needed in America. So what was the American dream is slowly turning into what's feeling like a bit of a death spiral. You're seeing a lot of, cut corners throughout, especially production building, where it is on the precipice of affordable. Affordable housing is probably the worst victim of this, where it's lower skilled labor, cheaper materials, and inferior product being put out into the marketplace. Like I said, construction costs are up, home prices are up, and wages generally have been stagnant. So it's just becoming harder and harder for anyone to afford a house. Affordable homes continue in decline. In 2013, only about 16% of units on the market would be qualified as affordable. So it doesn't look any better in the last couple of years from what we're seeing. So what are we doing? So if you haven't seen any 3D printing, there's a number of different ways to kind of cut this, but it's in a sense a scaled up 3D printer that is extruding a paste of cementitious material, whether that's a concrete or a mortar. We model the house, we extract G code, and then we go to site, we set up, and we actually print the structure. That turnaround is obviously very much dependent on the size of the house and the complexity. But for a modest size, 1,500 square foot home, we're printing the wall systems, which would be your interior, exterior finish, your kind of your core of the house, in about a week to 10 days. And that's something that we are aiming to improve. Obviously, with setup and teardown time, we're looking for further efficiencies. But right now, we're at a point where we can, comfortably come in for a better house, a little bit faster and a fair amount cheaper. And then if you were to try to match what we can do in terms of efficiencies, we're usually 20 to 30% cheaper and about 30% faster currently. And we're still pretty new at this as far as the industry and the technology. So our difference, again, we're aiming for about 25% cheaper wall systems that performs much better thermally. So it's going to be a much more comfortable home. It's going to be a much more structurally sound home that's able to stand up against pests, wind, mold, fire. Built, of course, you have to actually have good roof details, but the cementitious house, as we've seen in the Malibu fires, the one house standing was built out of concrete, not 3D printed. And same thing with Pasadena, one of the houses that was standing was also built out of concrete. It's a great building material. Faster construction times, which for developments just mean better return for investors. The appeal there is obviously they're getting money in and out of projects much better. We're producing less waste. We know what we need to do to actually manufacture the house. And coming from my background in, high-end residential, it's for, say a 7,000 square foot home, it might be like 10 dumpsters worth of waste product, which is all money that was spent to go into the house that's just being paid to leave. And so we can reduce that significantly. And then again, just savings. Generally, we require usually smaller HVAC equipment. So in a lot of developments, build to rent models, there's lower CapEx cost over the long term of the project as well. This is a model of one of the homes. We're probably going to be printing this a little bit later this year on some property that we have. It's, just a great 2 or 3 bedroom option. This is a house. We've got a couple examples of what we printed in 2024 for about $105,000. So it was a 650 square foot, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. Great rental unit. It's performed well so far in the portfolio. So our competitive advantage. I want to kind of get through this so we can get to some questions. All metals manufacturing is kind of one of the secret sauces to what we feel is our business. We're able to manufacture our machines and sell those relatively quickly and at a really good cost basis compared to our competitors. So we have access to a $25+ million manufacturing facility that we haven't had to pay for in all metals. So that they're operating, a profitable business. We're able to kind of piggyback into that with really favorable terms because one of our co-founders is the owner. And so it gets us in a great spot. We've got a ton of real estate, construction, data experience. And we really built the company so that it can scale. Right now we're acting as a general contractor / subcontractor / manufacturer. And our long-term play is really just to sell the machines and provide the support for that, because that's where the scale is, not being another DR Horton or KB builder. So company started in 2019. We printed the 7th and 8th house in America in 2020, 2021, after a tremendous amount of headaches and nearly killing Craig, our co-founder, to get everything working and going. Over the last couple of years, we printed another 5 structures, generating about $700,000 in revenue internally. We've built a completely second generation of the machine. We're working on kind of generation 2.5 of that, and then generation 3 as well. So we got some accreditations in the industry. We've invested $1.5 million to date. It's all been bootstrapped, and so that's where we're looking to raise to kind of push us forward. The pipeline was at $3.5 million. That's gone up recently. We are expecting an LOI for about a $1.3, $1.4 million project to do the wall systems on 18 houses in a really cool community down near Austin. And then we were asked to do 40 duplexes or townhome setups recently, which don't know if we're going to take that, but that would be about $10 million in revenue. So just some interesting stuff going on there. So our original kind of raise was about $3 million at 15. The first tranche, we're really looking for about $1 million. That'll take us through 12 to 18 months of runway, again, depending on how much work we pick up on the build side. It's really geared towards developing some proprietary software so we can take some of the off-the-shelf solutions that we've got and refine those and get those to a point where we can actually put those out into the marketplace and make selling our equipment that much more competitive. Finish Gen 3 developments, some R&D. We've got our head of engineering kind of identified and in talks with him about bringing him on. So some of that money will help with that. And then in building some of the, a little bit of the backstock for machines so we can actually deploy those for a development. Financial projections, I feel like these are generally pretty conservative. Again, I just talked about, we've got an opportunity to go out and do probably $12 million in projects within the next, 18 months or so. Really where we're going to scale is selling machines. We can produce tens and tens of machines right now with the capacity of AMF. And so that's really where that opportunity for revenue and growth is going to be. So these, I feel like we're pretty conservative when it comes to actual profit margin. The profit is really in our machine sales. We're at a cost basis of 170 to 180K right now. We'd sell that for about 400, 450. Our closest competitor on the market, all in and theirs, is starting about $1 million. And we've talked with them. Some of their customers are spending closer to $2 million to be operational. So pretty ahead of them currently. It's a huge market. It's just, very much the VC world. It's $1 trillion, $2 trillion just US construction market. Global market is way bigger. Where 3D printing fits into that is still to be seen. We think that there's a lot of opportunity because even if we don't replace anything in traditional stick framing construction, just the needs that are available in the market, like we satisfy that. We help kind of solve some of that labor crisis, and we're not pulling directly from all the materials that are in the market that are being fought over currently. So it's an interesting approach, we feel. And then, yeah, we really want to be a part of changing the trajectory of the housing market and the construction market in general. So with that, I'd love to answer any questions you guys have. Yeah. So machine mostly, aiming for some of the software development that we have in the pipeline. We've identified a partner to help produce that software to actually get that up and going. We've got some quotes and some stuff worked out there the machine, and we have a couple patents on the machine. We're not utilizing one of them, but we're still kind of keeping with seeing what we can do with that, and then identifying some further patents on what we've done to date.
And this is obviously going to be pushed from architectural engineers.
Yeah.
Those firms, how do they think about permitting, getting through codes, and
Yeah.
how does this work? There's no rebar, obviously. What are you doing there?
Great question. So there is structural reinforcement in there. So we'll go and do some horizontal reinforcement, and then we have vertical reinforcement columns. We're able to print that column and then just kind of throughout our construction process, fill those columns with concrete. And so we do have the ability to have a very robust and resilient structure that kind of nestles in with CMU or concrete masonry unit construction to date. But the ICC and a couple other bodies that we get to sit in on are actively working on codes for 3D printing specifically. So right now in municipalities, we're having to kind of go and talk one-on-one if we're going to be building inside city limits. If we're in the ETJs or outside of that where we've been operating, it's not a concern. But yeah, so that code has been in works for about 2 years now, and they're pretty close to publishing that and getting that out for municipalities to adopt.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
So foundations, footing are traditional.
Yeah, that's what we're doing now is traditional. It's the fastest way to get through that compliance and understanding. And again, just trying to integrate kind of bits and pieces into the normal construction process and then develop and refine that. We have kind of messed around with printing foundations or at least printing formwork and stuff. And so there are ways to move into that to automate further. We're focused primarily on the wall system today, though. Cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'll get with you. My email is Kane@printed, PRINT 3D. Yeah. Yeah, that's got taken out. I think there's some other ones. And we'll send everything out, I believe, but Kane, Kane. Yep. At Print3D Technologies.com. Yes, sir. It's a great addition. Mhm. Correct. Yeah.
It'd be nice to see comparison on whatever you showing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Still.
No, it's a great point. In 8 to 10 minutes, I try to balance between getting to the Q&As for questions like this. They're fantastic. I do have another slide in our full deck I'd be happy to send you because it does get to be around like Icon specifically. They're the biggest in the industry. They've raised about 500 million to date with about a $2 billion valuation, but they're not selling their machines and they don't have any short-term plans to do that. And then we have stuff like Cobod, who is another kind of large backed company. They're at the kind of entry point of 1 million and then pushing to 2.5 million for a full setup with what seems to be working for them. Yeah, being able to manufacture it quickly and understanding manufacturing and not having to go through that as a startup, that kind of pain point, we've got a lot of industry experience there. And so we can optimize a lot for manufacturing and keeping costs down. So we're not pouring a ton to R&D in there. Yeah. Yes. Great point. Thank you for that feedback. Total 3 million at around a 15 valuation. We're doing the first million currently at about like an 8 million valuation, so a heavy discount. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, getting machines out, right now with our competitors spending, significant capital to actually manufacture machines and get them out there is a barrier to entry. I would have said maybe 6 months ago that code compliance was one. I've seen that improving, and with development, instead of like one-off projects kind of or hit or miss with municipalities, but if there's affordable housing development moving somewhere, they seem to be much more keen and open to that. So it's still there, but we're improving. Yeah. 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 We're working with a company or a group out of Dallas for their kind of homeless kind of project. It's akin to Mobile Loaves and Fishes in Austin, which has done really well. And Icon's actually done stuff out there as well. So it's similar vein. We're currently only doing single story because of simplicity. Once we are into 2-story for us, small team, it starts to get into a couple other issues with scaffolding, but we're capable. Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's a great question. And that's one of the reasons we're targeting affordable housing. In our kind of roadmap is some automated kind of processing to get a much smoother wall finish. So we can improve that currently. But we have some developments that we're really kind of pushing on in the next 12 months or so that it'll be automated. Right now, doing a plastered finish is great. It does increase the cost. And since we're in affordable housing, we kind of eschew that. But yeah, that's like maybe $10 a square foot for additional processing. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. 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 Good. Thank you. Yes.
Existing technology, or you sell the machine to your competitors who are using the other machines, or are you expecting people to adopt the technology this way that they're not doing now?
Yeah. So early is going to be probably the kind of the innovator, the GC who wants to go out and do some of that. But we're seeing some interest in the market and with us a little bit from like mid-sized builders who are wanting to look to do this. And so we see that there's kind of a combination between like early adopter and then small mid-sized construction companies that are going to be operating themselves. So does that answer your question? I mean, there's a kind of a skew. They've invested. We're just not going after them to date. They've actually, most of the builders a few years ago threw in a bunch of money with a few different kind of groups that were working with 3D printing. And so we're seeing some stuff come out of that, particularly with Icon and Lennar. So there's growth in that area, but we're kind of waiting to see, instead of spending all of our resources to chase that, to see where they kind of leverage it. We think we can have some advantages with, some of what we're doing. Great question. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Big picture of myself there. Yeah. I think I'm going to switch the slide real quick. Or this is back. Okay. Hey, everybody, I'm Ryan. I'm the founder and CEO of RYCA International. We're an oral care company simply committed to giving consumers the oral care that they need and deserve. You're about to see a very unusually designed toothbrush, and I'll tell you all about it in a second. Our flagship product is this Encompass toothbrush. It effortlessly brushes your teeth in just 30 seconds, and we'll talk about why that 30 seconds is important. Just for fun, I'll ask,
Does anyone brush for the full required 2 minutes? It's going to be about 1 in 10, although in this ambitious group, it seems to be a bit more. But all the research shows us that 9 out of 10 of us are not brushing properly. I do want to say that the designer of my brush was the former engineer for Sonicare. So this pitch is not about bashing great cleaning devices, Sonicare, Oral-B, the competitors. These are great devices, but they rely on us to use our toothbrushes properly, which most of us don't do, and thus most of us are not getting the oral care that we need. And that leads to huge problems. Almost 100% of us have cavities. Believe it or not, about 50% of us have gum disease, and that leads to heart issues, lack of self-esteem. It's a very odd thing if you think about it. If we were going to go to an island and bring 3 objects, most of us would bring our toothbrush. It's one of the most essential items that we have. And yet toothbrushes for years have been letting us down because they rely on us to use them perfectly instead of understanding us. And that's where RYCA is different. We know most of us are not going to brush for the required 2 minutes. And that's why we've created a brush that provides perfect oral care in 30 seconds. So a bit about our competitors. The 2 main competitors are all the brushes that you guys use on the market, which again are great devices if you use them properly. And there are now emerging toothbrushes that are promising 30-second cleaning. And my utmost respect to these companies that are trying to offer a new solution. The reality is, not my word, every expert is saying these brushes are not adequate solutions because they lack efficacy. They just don't clean well. And the reason for that is it was a tough challenge to solve. And we've been doing over 5 years of R&D with the best engineers in the business to make sure that the brush fits your mouth as well as it fits my mouth, as well as it fits everybody's mouth. So ours is a 95% one size fits most. Yeah, so very simply, we take the chore out of brushing. I hope I can show you a demo here, but essentially it's a half mouth proposition. You put the brush in your mouth, hit the on button, it's going to run for 15 seconds, flip it around, hit the on button, it'll run for 15 seconds and you're done. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'll try it. No, it won't. That's okay. That's okay. So if I were to ask if you guys would prefer a brush that worked perfectly in 30 seconds over 2 minutes, I think all of us would prefer a brush that works perfectly in 30 seconds. So the real question is, does our brush work? And we are very proud that this has been extensively user tested, bench tested, simulation tested. We were lucky enough in 2021, after a very successful crowdfunding campaign, to be reached out to by one of the largest in the industry. It's confidential, so I'm not allowed to say it, but later I will happily under NDA. And with those resources, they made a major investment in us. And with those resources, we were able to do extensive testing. So now we sit with what I believe is the only reliable 30-second solution on the market. We also took our concept into extensive market research in China, Germany, and the US to test purchase intent. And if you know anything about market research, this purchase intent is off the charts, 82%, 87%, and 80%. Like some of the other industries we've seen here pitched today, obviously the market is huge. In the US alone, we're going to start US direct to consumer. It's a $3.5 billion industry in the US alone. We all know that the market for toothbrushes is massive. I will say our plan was to start US only. However, I just got back from China. We were invited to meet with one of the largest consumer product companies in China. Their ambitions for volumes are massive. They want to sell about 1 million encompasses in the first year. So we may pivot our strategy to also introduce China in our launch. As far as the market, we have identified direct to consumer, what we call active jugglers. This kind of, we know you're busy, we know you're fast, we know you're not going to brush for the 2 minutes, but we know you care about oral care. So that's kind of our immediate direct to consumer market. However, one thing that we care deeply about is this brush is not just a convenient option for those of us who can brush for 2 minutes but choose not to. This brush is truly a lifesaver for anyone with limited dexterity. So our elderly community, our limited dexterity community, and because of that, year one, we're going to have a big B2B play, offering the brush more as a medical device to care centers, senior living centers, hospitals. We're actually running the brush through a clinical through Walter Reed, because for the military, faster, better solutions are key. So our goal this year is to become a approved supplier for Walter Reed and then have an entire military rollout as well. Our sales, we believe, are conservative. We plan to sell 80,000 units in year one, which, by the way, we're launching Q1 of next year, so Q1 of 2026. We'll do 80,000 units in year one, 350,000 units in year two, 750,000 units in year three. We are only modeling a one-to-one purchase the brush to brush head replacement, but we will have a subscription model that will foster more replacement. We'll probably actually sell closer to 2 to 3 brush heads for every brush. But that translates very nicely to approximately 10 million sales in year one, 50 million in sales in year two, and 100 million in sales in year three. I proudly believe our team is second to none. You'll see a lot of oral care people on our advisory board. Our engineer, as I mentioned, was the director of engineering for Sonicare and Clarisonic. A lot of people on our team have a lot of consumer product rollouts, including NuFace, Dent Mat. Just, oh, and by the way, I should tell you that this guy right here is Kerry. And RYCA, if anyone was curious, is the first 2 letters of my name, Ryan, and the first 2 letters of my dad's name, Kerry. So that's where RYCA came to be. And a funny story about that, I would have more humbly put his name first. So I wrote, well, yeah, let's do your first 2 letters, CA, and my first 2 letters, RY, and I spelled it, and I was like, oh, that says your name, Kerry. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to call the company Kerry. But that's RYCA there. Oh, so this is where our ask gets a little interesting. We've had quite the journey. In 2019, we went to equity crowdfunding. We sold almost $500,000 in sales in 3 months, and based on a prototype. And then we went to equity crowdfunding, and we oversubscribed our Reg CF round, and we raised $1 million in also less than 3 months. And based on that, this industry expert reached out to us and made a pretty substantial investment. So we're positioned weird because we're not to market yet. We're pre-revenue. We've raised quite a bit of money, so it kind of puts us in this odd, we're not quite a startup. So the ask that you see, 25 million, is large. And also what's a bit unusual is I'm proud to say that we are deep into due diligence on that round. So we have a term sheet for 25 million in funding that we are targeting a July 1st close. So then you might ask, then what the heck are you doing here if you've already got your funding coming on July 1st? And that is this interesting part, which is, as every entrepreneur knows, you're always trying to raise money to keep the lights on. We have so much momentum going for our January launch that we are looking to raise a bridge round while we're waiting for the 25 million in funding. And we want to offer it in pretty attractive terms. So this could be a great fit for a high net worth, an individual. We're hoping to close July 1st. So I will only be holding this investor's money for less than 2 months. And in that 2 months, we'll do a 15% return and we'll offer good faith equity. The full $400,000 round is 0.375 equity. We just raised money at a 27.5 valuation. So it's about $150,000 worth of equity that we just be granting in good faith for helping us keep the lights on. If I need to hold your money a little longer, because as we all know, due diligence can sometimes take longer to close, we would pay more equity. So if we need your money longer than 3 months, we'll pay 20%. If we, for some reason, need the money longer than 6 months, we would pay 25%. Were you giving me that it's almost time? Okay, gotcha. No problem. Just wanted to know. I should say we are not a quote unquote one product company. The really exciting thing about this geometry and architecture is you start to ask yourself, if we're capturing your mouth twice a day for 30 seconds at a time, what else can we do with this architecture? And part of our product roadmap is not just toothpaste that are going to allow us to offer whitening, but getting into things like cancer detection, illness detection. We really think of it as a real platform technology. In addition to, right away, we're already working on the kids brush because every parent knows it's impossible to get your kids to brush for the required 2 minutes. So we have a kids brush, and then right after that, we'll be releasing. This is powered. I haven't told you about the really cool technology, which I will in Q&A, but we also want to release a manual version. So it keeps our same novel design, but not in a powered brush, just to bring the price point down a little bit. Yeah, our primary strategy is an exit. We believe if we do hit $1 million in sales in our 3rd year in the market, we would be a prime candidate for a 400 million plus acquisition. Quick, I can't even see what that says there, but yeah. So anyway, Connie, thank you for the invite. Oh, that makes sense. I feel arrogant coming here when we have secured or close to secured our funding. However, we all know it's not real until the money's in the bank. So I'm always grateful to tell our story and see if there's any other interest. And also this kind of what we're calling a RYCA short-term loan is perhaps attractive to people and very valuable to me because it allows us to keep the lights on and keep up our momentum while we're waiting for the close. Okay, I'm going to try to find the right slide to sit on here while we take questions if we do, but I have a feeling this might be of the most interest. So thank you guys for letting me tell that story. Yes. Yep. So we're going to sell the brush year one at 160 and make it for 40. It's sits right in kind of a average to premium for a power toothbrush. We'll make the brush heads for 5 and sell them for 20. And we expect to sell in our subscription model, we'll send you 3 brush heads a year. Our brush only runs for 30 seconds, so it's less wear and tear on the actual brush head, but you also want to replace your brush head just because of kind of gunk and hygiene in your, so you won't technically need to replace it from a functional perspective, but we'll still encourage replacing every 3 months.
Yes. 2 questions. One, it seems like the angle is what differentiates your brush from some of the other existing brushes on the market. So is that something that you patented? Is it patentable? And you have a patent on that?
Yes.
Second question is, I think you showed a slide where you launched or you started raising over 5 years ago. And
yeah.
So you had some successful events at that point. So why is it taking so long?
Yeah, so all great questions. So our competitors, for some reason, unbeknownst to me, are really trying to lock into this full U shape. We've been working on this longer than any competitor has. We've been around, that's part of our length of the story. We first designed a U, realized right away that while you can fit it in your mouth, it's not comfortable. And we want the in-mouth experience to be enjoyable. By the way, our mandate for the user studies that we've had 5 of is at least 80% of the people had to give us an A on comfort and perceived efficacy. And we exceeded those targets. So randomly recruited people come in, they love the brush. We bring them back time after time because there's a learning curve and people actually fall in love with the brush more as they use it. And we had users say like, I'm so happy to be back. I love this brush. I can't believe I was brushing the old way. But anyway, so we quickly pivoted from a U to a J. It's more comfortable, but also it allows us to adopt to different variations in mouths, either easier than a full U. Our patent covers J shape, and what you don't see in this picture, maybe you see it a little here, is this is actually a bladder. So we have a motor and a pump system and a diaphragm that delivers air to a bladder, and the upper and lower tray move up and down at a controlled frequency. We offer 35 hertz and 42 hertz because we tested that to be the perfect balance of efficacy and comfort. Where this is very different is most of our competitors are trying to use some form of sonic technology. And a little engineering geekiness, weight and mass are the enemy of vibration. You're never going to power this efficiently with vibration. So early on, we patented this air drive system. So it's quite unique. We'll be the first and only air-driven brush. And yes, that is patented along with the J shape, along with these individual flex fingers that are able to adjust to your mouth. The length of time, my background, by the way, guys, I'm an LA guy. I grew up right here in Santa Monica, actually went to Santa Monica High School. And like everybody in LA, I was a filmmaker, went to USC, love film, love storytelling. And my dad was a dentist. That's why we started this together. And so we were a scrappy little startup, and we had a really successful Indiegogo campaign, sold 500,000 in brushes, really successful crowdfunding campaign, and then a giant came to us. Literally, you guys have their toothbrushes in your bathroom now. And that was great. They invested 6.6 million in us. A lot of value. We took a really great prototype, made it even better. But the reason it took so long is because these giant corporations take a long time. Right? They took 6 months just to learn our technology. And then there was a couple technology pivots that we did for the better of the brush. And so that was 2021 to 2024. Really great progress with the brush, but 3 years goes by like that when you're working with a corporation rather than being a scrappy startup. What happened at their 2024, this will give away who they are, but they had which by the way, if you go to my LinkedIn, you're going to see who they are. It's not like, you don't need to be a detective. But they had a $1 billion plus recall in a division having nothing to do with oral care. It's a sleep apnea device. which tragically they put a noise softening foam in their medical grade sleep apnea devices. And if you had a certain condition, it tragically killed like 350 people, which I know working firsthand with them for 4 years, how careful they are, quality, regulatory. So it was just a tragic accident. But anyway, that loss of capital, essentially, they shuttered all their innovation programs. So our partnership, they discontinued. But I was wise enough to, when we structured the deal, if they ever lost faith for any reason and jumped ship, all of the joint IP reverted back to me. So in a way, I took their generous investment, made my brush better, got the brush back, and have full freedom to operate. And so now we're back to being an awesome, scrappy. The equivalent would be an independent film company versus a giant studio. We're kind of a little bit, in my mind, best of both worlds. I should say real quick, I know I'm running out of town. Our manufacturer believes in us so much. As soon as my partners left, I went right back to a manufacturer I had been working with, and our manufacturer is doing all of our manufacturing for equity. So $6 million for equity at a $35 million pre-money valuation. So that's great for a startup because I don't have to raise that capital.
Great. Time for one question.
About half of the population have adopted power toothbrushes, maybe a little less than that. How do you think about switching costs? So they've got a Sonicare and Oral-B or whatever. Yeah. And they're gonna go to this. So they've already invested, they're just doing heads now perhaps. But now they're gonna switch to a new device. How do you think about the switching costs?
Switching from their current device to this?
Because they're the ones who have adopted power toothbrushes. So that would essentially be your market, but you gotta get them to move off those platforms. What are your thoughts?
Great question in a ton. 66% of people cite laziness and lack of time for the reason that they know they want better oral care, but they're not making a change. They're just too lazy and lack time. So all the Oral-Bs and now Burst and Quip, they're competing. The product is the same. Everyone makes a really good brush. So our whole value proposition is forget about all that. Stop doing it the way that you used to do it. We are offering exactly what you need because we understand you, right? So here's a 30-second solution that's clinically proven, and the price point is essentially the same. So that's where I think the shift comes from, that it's finally something that understands the consumer. And I talk too much, I'm so sorry. But what these guys are doing now is offering new ways to incentivize you to do the full 2 minutes. So you've got timers, you've got a connected app. So I don't know about you guys, but the last thing I do when I'm brushing my teeth is pull out my cell phone, connect to the app, and then score myself on how I'm brushing my teeth. All of that is to incentivize compliance, the full 2 minutes. Our story is so much simpler. We understand you. We understand you're not going to brush for the 2 minutes. We understand you're busier than ever, and here's a solution that understands you. And then real, as last thing I'll say is the marketing campaign is so excited because time reclaimment is huge. The most precious thing we have is time. And we are offering you 90 seconds twice a day. And just imagine asking, what are you going to do with that 90 seconds? Are you going to hug your kid a little bit tighter? Are you going to kiss your wife a little bit more? Are you going to enjoy that last sip of coffee? So it's not just better oral care. It's a kind of a lifestyle of getting our time back.
Great.
All right. Thank you. Oh, it's right. Oh, guys, by the way, speaking of time and my kids, I'm on pickup duty today. So Connie was nice enough to invite me, but I am going to slip out pretty soon. If anyone is interested in hearing more, clearly I can talk about this forever. So please text me or get contact info or get my business card. And thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
So we're now at the feedback portion. We were going to have a little while ago. If you could pull out your mobile phone and we'll send a text from that number for each of the 3 companies that presented. Just give us a yes or no on each one and we'll take it from there. Oh, thank you. We will take a break here in a moment and have a few minutes to network with each other. And you guys can certainly talk to some of the people that pitched already to exchange information if you want to as well. So let's try that for a few moments and then we'll take a break.
I have new added development. That's CEO. Good. Yeah.
There is a so we get back to that still. If you put there.
We have
All right, guys. We're going to take a 20-minute coffee break. We have a coffee place around the corner.
Wait, now.
Let's go. Mike, come on up then. Oh, there.
This is for Jenny.
Yes.
All right, thank you guys for coming back. We have our panel for the day. I'd like to go through and have each one introduce themselves first. They have a microphone. So Parisa, maybe kick off and tell us a little bit about yourself for those who aren't familiar with you.
Expert Dojo. I have a place to send many, but here's seven. So start let's say single thought. And that's and now we have fund in Ghana, which is fund in India, really is another fund which will be based on CPG products and technology and white dancing.
So we introduced this already. Serial business. So you just you get somebody else to do that. Although I did have a good cellular company. The East Coast, it's kind of interesting. As reform Southern California, we have Northwest region represented in it as well. So thank you guys for being here. We have our 64 chapters. That's split over $1 billion. So looking at companies, we each of our regions do every single month. How many companies do you look at every week? Especially now that you're doing pitch works too. Right. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for those who need to.
Great. So we have a topic up there, Frontier Tech, investing in the edge of what's next. I think we saw some of the companies today that are certainly in that space. We want to hear from our panelists about what they think about this space. So we'll start off with Parisa. And first question up is, how do you assess startups whose tech is ahead of the industry adoption? How do you know that? What signals are you looking for that shows the market's going to catch up to a frontier tech company?
It's one is solving a problem that's in the market. And if you as far as how we look at it, you can see how what the teams give to achieve the key inflection points, right? And during as they we look and see how the funding and achieving their goals. Also, we sort of the cycle and sort of the cost of redoing tests, how they're sort of matching. And also, at the end of the day, it's around the top of the teams that is really focused on solving the problem, creating the not chasing too many.
Yes, no, it's great. An open question to Brian first and then Connie second is what external risks, regulatory, geopolitical, you factor in most heavily at this stage when you're working with frontier tech?
I would say I think everybody should be an entrepreneur, and I don't think everybody is so in terms of policing, just in this particular house, it's for me. And it's the same thing with banks, some sort of relationship, like the product, the person that gets involved, like shit's gonna happen, and it's really good. With the exception of street. So, but you leave it at the 5-10%. Those entrepreneurs that are in that beautiful romance with that person. It doesn't matter if there's wars, it doesn't matter if there's threat, it just. So we look for those people, you see it in the fact that you know they will die. You see that it's not just that they're going to die before the product makes it, it's that the product is so awesome that people need it because they're customers. You just see it. It's obvious. You walk into a bar, you see the people who've been married too long and they should spend silence. Art, rather than together, you see the people who are. So we look for the people who are. Just give you one very quick example to be great. We invested in a company called North, and which are an amazing US company. They're taking productions on credits for cloud. So you know that cloud storage is going to become bigger, so it's okay. And I said it's something that's obviously no, we will fall from 9 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock every single day without exception, so fully together. And then even before we spoke, we surprised. I think he said within 12 months from zero, getting the thing. The product is specific.
What would you add to that?
So the question
Absolutely. So what are the external risks, regulatory, geopolitical, do you factor in at the early stage of frontier tech? How do you look at that to say that's going to propel it forward or stop it short?
In addition to those changes, what pivots can be made by the investors, by the entrepreneurs to say, because when you talk to entrepreneurs, you got to see how coachable they are. They can pivot and but they have to be flexible. You have to take changes because it is a changing time that we have today.
Sure.
I just straight up thing. You should love chaos. If they're entrepreneurs, they're chaos is the point, which is the win. These are amazing. You're getting the money. The person who's in Stanford, whose mommy or daddy works for 816 and founded 816, they're getting the $200 million. Today you're competing with nobody. It's totally even painful. It's chaos, chaos, chaos. It's fantastic. You should embrace chaos. As a VC, I am more today than 6 months ago, 12 months before that, any time in the past. We have a very small window of absolute craziness, and all of us, so that we during the space should be super aggressive. The more craziness in there, the better. Should be for us.
Chaos and opportunity, same word. So, anybody in the audience have a question? Yes.
On our city, but how do we change that perception? Because it's great that people like you, Steve, get it, but it doesn't seem to be right within their ecosystem.
So we have first thing needs to be lost with 3 and you have all sides of it. Some of it is because there's too many VCs. Like you mentioned in the afternoon, we were talking, how many VCs are
In Austin, there's now 416 VCs. 5 years ago, there was maybe 10. Yeah.
So the journeys job. But it's great. I'll be sitting there. And we say for we all be judged. And if you get good terms like so over the years, there was so much craziness. It's good diligence. I had so many data deals. Okay, I said that I don't mention they provided a check. They didn't even check the payments, which was a problem that we could realize. So I was thinking like, it's okay, Jerry. It's like, it's up to us. We don't have to continue the next years and be miserable. But if we look at the perspective of you and me and listeners, there's many people that there's no pure industry before, just probably 10 times more. And so, do we have a good thesis for a fund? Do you have a good thesis for a startup? Is there a people that needs it? Are you able to transform someone? And then are you prepared to make the event? Phone calls, emails, texts, so you're required to do it. If you are,
It's very interesting. Our angel group is very diverse, looking at stuff. Okay, the stage. I think there's enough diversity out there, enough individuals that are looking for the chaos. They're looking for.
I just said it's lucky. I just said it's fortunate.
Right. I think it is interesting. I think they do.
Great. Next question goes to Brian. How do you coach founders to build defensibility when competing with well-funded players in the market? You have a startup that's just entering. How can it be competitive?
Okay, I will tell you I just found something out which was the greatest gift that I've been given in branding, and I want to share it, right? And so I'm a brand freak. I'm a VC by coincidence, but that's just how I make money, but I'm growth. I love growth hacking, and area of specialty is narrative and storytelling. That's what I love to do. And so we've always used that in Expert Dojo. But about 2 months ago or 3 months ago, I had my iCloud stolen from Apple. Sorry, they didn't steal it, stolen by a bad person. But Apple don't have a policy to give your iCloud back. Did anybody know that? They have no policy. There is no way that you can ever speak to anyone at Apple to get your iCloud back. And so I was like, and then I realized something that I didn't realize before. I thought to myself, well, I know a lot of people in tech, so I can call literally 2 levels from the top of Apple. It made no difference. No policy, no procedure. They would never, ever, ever get an iCloud back from anyone who's had a kidnap. Doesn't matter how many photos you have in there, what data you have in there, they don't care. And so I suddenly realized that brand used to be user experience, user interface, and emotional resonance. They were the important parts of brand. Now the most important part of the brand is user empathy. And so what I say to all of our founders about, you attack, you go after the biggest people in your space, you pray that they don't care, you pray that they're like Apple, and you attack them relentlessly every single day. This is going to become a huge thing that folks are going to see it. You're going to see it more and more and more. Genuine, authentic products, services, and companies that are not chasing a 10, 20, $30 trillion valuation, and they can't afford to be able to take care of their customers. It is the greatest place to attack. The other things, such as the product, the other stuff, everybody will improve their product and they'll get better products, but it's about how you're seen as an organization and where you are. So that for me is just the lowest hanging fruit to go out and go after it. User empathy, and go to your users, give them the choice and let them see what your competitors are doing.
Right. My follow-up question, first to Parisa, then to Connie, is what makes a moat real at this stage beyond patents? Is it partnerships, data? How do you make that startup, more protectable and put a moat around it besides patents?
I guess it depends on, it does depend on the segment, but I think I'm just going to piggyback a little bit from Brian. I personally am very passionate about customer experience, and you can actually differentiate yourself by the types of service and how you take care of your customers. I mean, and that actually brings customer loyalty. And it's not customer experience when you're small and that changes as you get bigger and you start ignoring. It's really having that as one of the key sort of pillars of your company, how you take care of customers. And I think that to me is also can be a significant moment.
Cool.
I think you're right about that. And I think deep integration with hardware and software, if they're in that space. That's really important.
Next question goes to, how do you evaluate capital efficiency in frontier tech? You know, where the growth often comes with very high R&D costs. To be scalable, you have to put more in. So how do you look and say that's capital efficient versus it's not? Because some tech companies are so cheap, you know, they don't need much money, but in the frontier tech, deep tech space, you need a lot more money to do basic R&D and so forth.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it in my previous, one is sort of what the team has been able to hit at key inflection points, right? What milestones have been, between each round, what they're raising. Cost of redo is important. And how they're sort of, I think we answered that, right? I mean, how they're utilizing their sort of non-dilutive, isn't that? Yeah.
Cool. All right. You want to add to that, Connie?
I think you're right with that. And I think that as far as with research and development, I think growth is really important. I think you really need to focus on growth, but then that exposes development. And so then you have to be able to capture issues and things change, and you have to pivot and you have to make sure that you can follow through with that. So I think that's important as well.
Cool. Question from the audience. Yes.
Yeah, as an investor, individual investor, I'm loath to park my money unless I think I'm going to get a good return on it. But I'm always encountering this struggle, this dichotomy with entrepreneurs and founders saying you take too long, particularly with TCA. Your screening process is too elaborate. You ask me for a cap table. You ask me for my R&D. You ask me for my patents. It's a probe, an anal probe to get you to invest. Versus I want to have a meeting and you have to tell me, are you going to invest or not? And like Brian was saying, he spoke to the guy before he even had his meeting. He thought he was going to invest. We had a presentation a few weeks ago at Expert Dojo with Eaton, was it? From a Google, very successful investor. He said due diligence is the key. You got to do due diligence. So how do you balance that dichotomy with the entrepreneur who says, I need to know now and don't ask me any more questions, versus the investor who says, I have to do due diligence before I give you my money. I want to know some more about your company. And what do you tell that entrepreneur who says, tell me now or forget it?
I'd probably, maybe not the right thing to say, but probably say TCA is not right for you. No, because honestly, we have responsibility to our membership to do the right amount of due diligence and, answer our investors' question. They're writing the check, it's their money. So it's our responsibility to make sure. I mean, yes, it can't take, I think what I would say is, even to our members, is, after the first couple of meetings, if you're deciding, I'm not so sure and I don't think this is the right, we need to communicate that to the founder, right? But asking you, we provide a list of information we want to see. Typically, at least my experience has been that the founders are very organized and they provide them. But if we, decide after a couple of meetings that maybe this is not the right investment for our members, we should communicate that. But otherwise, if the founder thinks, taking 4 to 8 weeks is a long time for due diligence, then maybe they need to focus on maybe not an angel group, maybe he does it faster.
Are we losing out on some of the good investments because of that process? I mean, do you get companies that you think will not pitch to TCA because we take so long, but it's a good investment and you can give them an answer and you can make that successful investment that we can't at TCA?
Okay, so first, the job I was talking about was pre-revenue at that time. Very seldom we would do a pre-revenue company. Maybe of 300 companies, maybe 5, 6 were pre-revenue. He's just so when you're pre-revenue,
You're looking at the size of the market, you're looking at the quality of the person, and you just want to know that the person is honest and they're hardworking, and then they will die before they start going ahead. I think everything is brand. So I would say that what I do in Expert Dojo, we're an accelerator, which means we have similar terms to Y Combinator. But I don't want $2 million companies, like I want $10 million companies, which means I have to sell. And so brand and selling is very important. So why do I do newsletters? I mean, there's plenty of you who get spammed. Actually, anyone who comes close to me will get spammed by newsletters.
They're good, they're good.
But every week, I answer every week, like sometimes twice. Right? There hasn't been a week in 10 years that I've missed. Like, and they're all propaganda, all of them. Like but there's a genuine aspect. There's never lies, but they're all propaganda. What I'll then do is make sure that there's a huge amount around growth hacking. When I'm on with the founder, and the founder will be like, oh, we're not going to do this, or like, it's stupid, like we pay this thing. I'll be like, first of all, and I'll say why because it's just funnier, but like, first of all, you're not worth $10 million. Like your mom isn't going to give you $10 million. Like, there's not, it's not going to happen. But an agent will give it to you because it's a Ponzi scheme at the beginning. And it goes from being a Ponzi pyramid scheme into being something more real. But at the beginning, it's all pretend. You just need to know that. But I'm like, can I have permission to just have a quick look at your brand and your website and what you do, and then I will tear them to fuck down. Like I will start at the beginning and I will go through that website and I will make them feel as low as they can feel. And then I will say, but you have a great product. So the only thing you have to decide is, do you want growth hackers on your cap table? That's all. If you want growth hackers on your cap table, you don't even have to do 100K. You can do 50K, you can do 25K. It's only going to be a tiny bit of dilution. Don't worry about the valuation. And then we'll go down that road. So if you say to me, what can TCA do? It's not less diligence. I love the fact that you do so much diligence. I think it's very good. It's better branding. That's all. It's about like, why do you need TCA? Like they may hate me afterwards and they may not want to do it Expert Dojo, but they will never say these guys are not good at marketing. They won't say because I won't let them get off the call. The better they are, the more I'll smash them. But then I'll come back afterwards and I'll be like, okay, you're awesome. I want to invest because you're cool. Like you don't, this stuff here is all normal. You're a brand new baby. But don't think that a freaking speed round is something. The seed round isn't even the starting point. Your starting point is Series A. If you're not a Series A, you are nothing. And the awful thing is, if you think you're something, it's like a VC. It's like me thinking that I did really well that we deployed 30 million. Like my wife said, we owe 30 million. It's not good, right? But once you start getting it back, so that's what I'm saying. Like everything, when you said about branding, it's so important. It's like everything is customer service, everything is branding. I think in this market right now, we can be super aggressive about real discussions. You're going to fail, more than likely. Nobody's raising a Series A. It's almost impossible. The only way you're going to get one is if you're growing at 150, 200%, if you have got a very scalable business, if you have an amazing team, and if you look incredible pitching, literally nobody's going to give, to Jerry's point, Series A investors are all sitting back and they're doing nothing. So how are you going to do it? That's what I do. The diligence, if they're doing it, we check their bank statements, we check their QuickBooks, we check their balance sheets, we check with WorldTree, we scrape everything, we check their patents, although I don't think we're as good at patents, but we get a general idea of it. But like, we go on diligence. We might take 4 weeks on diligence. I'll tell people they don't qualify. I'm like, if you just want to like, get into some cohort and sit there with a bunch of men, God bless you. There's like 10 groups of people that take you, but not us. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think this is that time.
I'd like to say there are a lot of other opportunities besides these startup companies. We do an initial screening before we present the companies, but we don't do we let the investors they've seen the companies to then do diligence. We have had individuals who walk out of the presentation. I had one guy look down and wrote a $250,000 check. And right after the presentation, then I found out later that he knew about the company. So that's very rare. But we have a lot of individuals that reach out to the company. We have a company who really wants to prepare. They needed support. So it's like there are other opportunities for you to look and see those startups that might not make it.
Well, we don't,
It's whole different.
we don't do the due diligence until there's enough member vote that we're interested in actually investing. But you have to remember, after a 10-minute pitch, right? There is if members are interested, they want to do a deeper dive, right? They want to really understand your technology. They really want to understand your go-to-market strategy. So they zoom in certain areas. And to me, if they're not interested, we let the company know and we part ways. But if you say, I'm not interested, it's too long for me to, you're interested in investing and you have all these questions and I'm not interested in providing because I want you to tell me yay or nay. I'm not sure that actually, I don't know, I'm not saying, that occurs very rare.
Your process is perfect. Your branding is bad. The fact that a founder believes that like two venture general partners who have no clue about anything except going down the golf course, and I'm not talking about this is any, I'm a VC too, so it's okay. Like, but if you think like that's better than a group of professionals who most of which have exited multiple companies over the period of time and have cash and money and help, and there are hundreds of people there, then startups are delusional, but also there's an onus on you to be able to get that point across to people. Like you have hundreds of people and they consider a VC better. Why would that be the case? That's the real problem. Because by the way, they'll wait for A16. They'll wait all day for A16. And A16 won't protect them. A16 won't be there by their side. They ain't getting a partner. They're going to get interns for the rest of their life. No support, no anything, unless they're like a huge thing. TCA of hundreds of people, but you don't promote it.
But Jeff, I've not heard of companies saying I'm not willing to do due diligence.
I was talking to
But
one.
I
guy-
have heard companies that are not interested in going in angel groups because they see it as a lower category. By the way, it's the same with accelerators, which is fair with accelerators, but it's not fair with angel groups. I think angel groups literally have a self-inflicted brand challenge. That is it. You have hundreds of people. You have 50 times more than anyone else, but it's not structured out there. You have people getting checks at meetings, but it's not shown. You're not doing any like friggin' hell. As my 82-year-old general limited partner would say, talk ticket. You know, show it. Like do a video, share it, let other folks know about it. Tell them why TCA are so amazing.
Yeah.
Because they don't know.
We actually sit with the startup and tell them what is the process of due diligence, what are the steps that are coming and the documents. And, you know, we sit down with the founder and explain to them the process.
I've seen David Friedman like
Yeah.
literally spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours with my founders. I never saw any VCs do that. And so why is that not documented anywhere?
And even help them with their pitch deck. Even sometimes if we're not interested in investing, we have a follow-up to say, we didn't invest because of A, B, C. Get these things done, stay in touch with us, come back to us, and we'll fast track you.
You guys are awesome. And Thai, amazing. One of the best groups I've ever been a part of in my life. Amazing. They have it slightly easier because it's a group of people that are, you know, all very similar, all know each other. They come from a place like Jerry's just let in because he's cool. But like,
Cool. There's time for one last comment, Connie?
But times are changing. I mean, in the past, it took 2 to 3 months, maybe 4 months to do due diligence. Now, I think you have a process that starts something. You get a complete report, the investors can review it and do a more thorough due diligence from that. It cuts it down to maybe, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah,
2 to 3 weeks?
yeah, it cuts it more than in half, yeah.
And so we're just applying documents that they already have, so they're not, because one of the biggest complaints we get is that every network I go to, every investor group that I present to, the deck has to be different, they want different documents, they want all this. But with the process, with what Hall is doing with us, you just give us all your documents and we go from there. So it makes it a lot easier. So times are changing. It's not as bad as it was.
I think, sorry, but if you do a due diligence, you have a report and many of our angel groups, they syndicate and we have a syndicate and we share our due diligence. So when you go and raise with another angel, there's already a report available from one angel group that they can share. So, I mean, to me, it's probably upside if you're raising, but that's just.
It's not all clear.
That's great. That's our time. Thanks so much, Connie, for great panel. Our first presenter for this afternoon will be Biovind. Come on up, and we'll kick off when you're ready.
Yes.
Put it over there.
No, I'm gonna be here.
I'm gonna do it here.
Uh-huh.
Right here. Yes, ma'am. Should we go to the next one?
Wait, then I have to move a lot of them.
All righty.
Yes, we have them.
My name is Mark Teagle. Nice to see you.
That's not you.
That's my face. That's not my
I'm
name.
fixing this.
But who said?
Wait, here. Yeah, Megan.
Okay.
He said we lost the slide.
Huh? Why?
I can wing it.
Oh, you see it now. Yes.
I stopped sharing, but now I come back sharing.
I think we were moving stuff and that got in the way a little bit. Let me see. Yes, they can see it now. We're in good shape. Go ahead and kick off.
Good. Yeah.
Correct your name, please.
All right. These things move? Maybe, or only on this? Aha.
Now you.
Now I can do it?
Yeah.
Great. All right. Thanks, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody there. Good afternoon here in the room. My name is Mark Teagle. I'm the CFO here at Biovind. We have a simple, easy, portable microbe detection system that we use in the oil and gas business. So every year, there's still 100 leaks that happen in oil and gas pipelines and storage tanks around America. That's basically one every 3 days. There was one 2 days ago. So just wait, there'll be another one here in the next 24 hours or so. It's a known problem. It's something that we in the industry have been digging into to try and figure out what's going on. And what we turned up was that 20 to 40% of those incidents are caused by bacteria that cause corrosion in oil and gas pipelines. Now, there is nothing sexy about finding microbes in oil and gas pipelines, but it is a huge problem. And the way they do it right now is you go out in your oil field, either monthly or weekly or daily, and you take samples from different areas. Wherever there's water, there's life, and there's a problem. You then take those, you package them up, you stick them in a cooler, you drive on out to wherever the FedEx, Kinko's is, you ship it to a central lab, and you wait 30 days to get your results back because they have to culture those things. In the meantime, you've got your entire infrastructure there that's vulnerable. So you blast it with biocides. Cost you tens of thousands of dollars every time you do that. You have no idea how you did, so you tested some more, you send it off to the lab, and 30 days later, you find out whether or not you did it right or not. So what we can do is we can do the same thing in 30 minutes at that same specificity and that same sensitivity as a lab in a handheld device that you don't need to be specially trained to use. On site, you can get your answers and you can craft your treatment plan. So you know how much biocide to use, you know what concentration to use, you know what cadence to use right then and there. You can do targeted treatments to make sure that you protect your infrastructure from the danger of the microbes that are eroding your system. So how do we do it? We have exclusive license to a patent that was developed with Lawrence Livermore National Lab. They spent a lot of money on it. They spent years on it, and they finally patented it. It is the same lab quality, sensitivity, and specificity that you're going to get at a centralized lab. We do it in 30 minutes. It is low cost. We can do 18 different microbes at once. One sample, 18 different microbes. It's portable, it's easy to use, it's less than 5 minutes of hands-on time when you actually have to prepare your sample. They've been doing this for a while because oil and gas have been around for a while. Typically what you do is you culture it. Everybody knows there's a problem with culturing because it takes 30 days. And there's some microbes you can't even culture. Methanogens, which caused the issue at Aliso Canyon, for those of you who've been around for the last 10 years, those are methanogens. They couldn't tell they were there because you can't culture them. ATP testing came along the last 10 years or so. It's a great technology. It tells you the entire count of live bacteria that's in your system. The problem is that there's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria. If you got a whole bunch of good bacteria, there's no problem in your system, but you're going to still spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to knock it out, and it's going to keep going and going and going. The expensive part is when you do qPCR. That's when you got to do the sampling. You got to send that to the central lab. They got expensive machines. They got expensive people. It takes 2 or 3 weeks for them to get back to you because they got a huge backlog. And then and only then do you find out exactly what's in your system. We can do the exact same thing, the exact same level of sensitivity, the exact same level of specificity in 30 minutes. So how's it going to work? It's pretty simple. It's a basic razor model. I'll give you a base station at a reasonable cost. And I make money on those recurring revenues of those one-time use cartridges. And as a bonus, because we can start generating that much data, because it's been so expensive to figure out where the problem is in all these systems, we can now start doing predictive analytics on the data that we get because we've increased our data. Thank you. Because we've increased the amount of data that we can pull in from the field. It's a big market, as you might guess. It's a worldwide market. What we're looking at is the attainable. Specifically just in Houston, LA, San Francisco, and San Diego, where we currently have footholds. We see about an $80 million market. The way that we got to that is actually pretty specific. We did a whole lot of customer calls. We talked to people in the field, we talked to people on the phone, we talked to everybody's friend, brother, uncle, anybody we could get a hold of. And what we determined was that in the first year, it's going to be about 21 cartridges or so per month that any of these facilities are going to use. But as they integrate that into their normal program, that ramps up to about 63 cartridges per year for the life of the device. We have two sales streams. One, the oil extraction, processing, distribution folks. Those are the ones you know. Exxon, Chevron, those big companies. We're in with SoCal Gas. That's who we're with right now. The other one are those third-party integrity providers. Those are the ones who actually have their hands in many, many different areas, small, medium, and large, who get around the country and have found this problem everywhere. These are the ones who are really excited about it because they can now differentiate themselves because there's hundreds of these guys, these third parties. They can now differentiate themselves and be on site with their customers and say, look, I ran the tests. They're better than the culturing. They're better than the ATP. This is what we know is in your system, and we can make those decisions right here and today to protect your infrastructure. Now, we didn't just get there yesterday. This took a while, took a lot of effort. We actually started back in 2022. We were presented with this technology from Lawrence Livermore National Lab, and we spent some time making sure that it actually worked, that it could produce a level that would make it useful for commercialization. At that point, we talked to Enhancco, which really, Tom is an amazing guy. He is everything you would think of an old, crusty field oil guy, except he's brilliant. I'm pretty sure he has a PhD he's not telling us about. He looked at that technology and said, this is going to change everything. We said, great. He said, it's going to change everything, and I'm willing to put $164,000 of in-kind support behind you guys to test it in the field. We said, that's amazing. We then competed for and earned a $1 million non-dilutive grant from the California Energy Commission to produce a complete test kit specifically for the natural gas industry. We then went to the nation's largest natural gas provider here in SoCal Gas and said, hey, we'd like to do this at your facility. And they said, you know what? That'd be great. We'll give you $50,000 in kind and cash using our people on our sites so you can test it in our live system. We then went to Microsoft and got a $50,000 zero interest loan because you know what? You got to carry things between accounts payable and accounts receivable. We then secured our exclusive license in the oil and gas space for Lawrence Livermore National Lab. Have a great relationship with their tech transfer office. If you haven't worked with them, you should. They are amazing and they have amazing technology. We completed our on-site hardware testing at our Alpha Partner facility to make sure that it worked in the field. We've completed 2 of the assays all the way through validation. We have several more in the pipeline, but those 2 we know work. And we have a full test kit coming up, a pilot at SoCal Gas in their facility at the end of the month. So this is where you come in. We're raising $1.5 million, post money safe $10 million cap. We've already raised 10% of it. And what it's actually going to do is just accelerate us. We can bootstrap this thing and be just fine. It'll take us a couple of years to get there. But with this investment, we're able to ramp up and really deliver this solution to the market. I'm going to hire 2 more wet scientists. They're going to be in the lab. They're going to be validating all of these assays. They're going to be building more so we can provide the exact customized solution that our customers really need. We'll hire another software developer. That way we can make sure that we present that information to our customers in a way that they understand intuitively, that they can include in their current process so they don't have to shift so much. They just want to know the knowledge and we can give it to them. You know and I know that at this stage, it comes down to the team. And I can tell you we have a fabulous team. These individuals we meet so often, and it's not often that you really, really enjoy the people that you work with. And I can tell you, having been in many startups and many companies, there's something special about this team that I really enjoy. Whether it's Joe with all of her experience in utilities, or Dr. Yuri, who can tell you anything about science and make you understand it, or a Becky, who is 30 years old as an entrepreneur professor at Harvard Business School. We understand the problem. We have great customers who are so desperate for our solution. They've given us $1 million in non-dilutive funding just for the opportunity for us to be on site with them. We have a solution that works. We have a market that is large and growing, and we have the traction to move forward. This is the opportunity. We have the people, we have the problem, we have the solution, we have the traction. We'd love to have your questions.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a clicker? Well,
You have to be here.
I have to be here?
Yes, because
I am
the
ADHD.
mic is not working.
Oh, I'm gonna try my best. Cool.
Sorry.
Thank you so much for having me here. I just realized I'm the only female presenting today. That's not unusual for me, but and while there's a lot of amazing companies today that are, thank you. Yep. Well, there are a lot of amazing companies today talking about life sciences and talking about data and toothbrushes. I'm going to make you feel like you're inside a pastry. And I'll tell you why. Okay, great. So what is HEYSI? HEYSI is the world's first conversational AI coach for teachers. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why I started this, why I'm doing this, what I'm doing. We kickstarted this about 8 to 9 weeks back, and we are running to the races. A little bit about me. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I am not the entrepreneur who's going to create a plugin for Salesforce and sell it to Salesforce. I have zero interest in that. I have to be intrinsically passionate about what I'm doing, and it has to cause real societal impact. I've had 2 companies in India. I sold one of them. I moved to the US in 2015-16. I'm an engineer who became a K-12 teacher with a K-12 teaching degree. So if anyone is Indian or knows India, my dad was not very happy about that. I came to the US to get my master's. My company, my previous company, Elevate K-12, I launched it in 2016. We raised $54 million. We went to Series C with General Catalyst, grew the company from 0 to $40 million in annual revenue run rate. And last year, I had a come to God moment that I really wasn't having fun scaling the company beyond 40 million. So I made my COO the CEO. I'm the chairman of the board. And I went on this eat, pray, love journey on what I'm going to do next and landed in now launching HEYSI. So I'm taking a lot of experience in K-12. I know a lot of entrepreneurs struggle in scaling K-12, and you will fail in K-12 if you don't do K-12 right. But if you do it right, you get yours when competitors come and catch on with you. So you're able to create value for the market and for the shareholders extremely well. So I'm taking all of that experience and bringing it to HEYSI. And this time I'm going to move really, really fast, faster than what I was able to do with Elevate K-12. Elevate was the first live teaching company that solved for America's teacher shortage crisis, streaming teachers into classrooms. We kind of became like an Uber, and now there are a lot of Amazon executives scaling it to the next level. So I'll come to this update of HEYSI at the end. So yes, I started the company, but with me is my previous chief operating officer who helped me scale Elevate from 0 to 30 million. Then she had another successful exit. She's coming back as my COO, launching this with me. My CTO is Jin Huang, who has been a CTO in several AI startups like Groove, Clary, Actana in the Bay Area, and he's leading AI. Anyone who knows anybody who's building with AI, at one point of time, I had 100 engineers in Elevate K-12 in India. With this, I don't have more than 5 after 5 years, because of course, we're coding with AI. The other interesting thing is Jay Parekh, who was the head of engineering at Facebook from 2009 to 19, is currently the head of Core AI of Microsoft, probably led all the layoffs yesterday. He's a good friend of mine. When I was thinking about what HEYSI can be, he's the one that I sat and jammed with. He's, of course, an investor. He's on the board of advisors as well. I have several superintendents on the board as well. And I'll tell you what the main concept is. I believe that in industries where humans will support other humans, you think about teachers, you think about nurses. These are professions where people are still getting up in the morning and walking out of their houses, going to another institution to support your human, your child or your family member. Yes, AI assistants are incredible in these industries, but these workers are burnt out. They're stressed, they're leaving. And I believe what they need is coaches and mentors. And without AI, it would not be a value proposition, but AI makes it possible. I know about teaching and teachers, so that's what I am focused on. What is the problem we are solving for? 1 in 2 teachers quit the profession in the first 5 years. I'll do a raise of hands. Of the investors and the group sitting here today, how many of your kids, nephews, nieces are dying to be a teacher? No one. No one. It's a dying profession. So unless people stop having babies, we need teachers in the profession, right? So let's look at why are the teachers leaving. You know that many years back, teachers would get into the profession and then say, I'm going to wait for my pensions to kick in, and then I'm going to leave the profession. This new generation think they can be an influencer, they can do everything online, but they're entering into the profession because they still care about a human. They entered into the profession, and I did a whole scan of Reddit. What I found was that they entered into the profession, then they're burned out. Yes, I go into teaching because of teaching, and that's what my previous company solved for. And now I'm supposed to be a therapist. I have to look at policies, whatever is happening at the government level. Mass shootings are going on. Nobody's happy with me. And they say, screw it, I'm leaving. HACI is here to stop that. So what are the school districts doing? School districts today, the funding, whatever is going on at the federal level, the funding still exists at the school district level. $853 billion annually is spent by school districts on tools and products. $4,200 every year is spent on a teacher's professional learning. Districts are doing anything they can to make the teachers stay. But what are they doing? They're basically asking the teachers to come on a boring, antiquated, once a month or once a quarter, sit in a professional learning environment and learn. There is literally no other support that the teachers are getting today. That's where HACI comes in. HACI is the world's first personal coach for teachers. And yes, it is AI. Think about this. Every teacher in the country is going to have their own coach in their pocket that they can talk to, they can converse with, they can ask any questions. And that's what HACI is all about. So yes, HACI is AI. Yes, HACI is an expert in everything K-12. HACI talks like a human and chats like a human. You all have seen those ads. You all have seen all those AI companies. That's what we're doing. It's available 24/7. It's cool for the new generation, but as we are testing this out in the market, I'm actually starting to see usage from teachers of all ages. And as we build this, we will have human coaches at the background. If someone says, I'm ready to kill myself, what are those guardrail agents that we have? So both sync and async, human coaches will be available for the first few years. As our data models get more trained, it's going to go away eventually. Okay, so what does HACI support in? Everything K-12. How to teach a concept, how to manage classroom behavior, but also I'm mentally stressed. How can I communicate with the parent? This mom is angry with me. Support with daily tasks, not just chatting in ChatGPT, but actually trained on K-12 policies and K-12 systems. HACI is also going to be their accountability partner. Just to check in, Susie, how are you doing? I can't show a video here. I really try to make a case to Hall, but I could not show a video. We will share the video with you that'll actually make you see what this conversation AI looks like. This is the only way that I could show it to you right now. But if you've seen the new Facebook AI ads, Meta AI, where this guy with his girlfriend is going and trying to meet her dad, that's what HACI is all about. Teachers will be able to converse with this coach non-stop. This was my video, which I can't play. This was the second video, which I can't play, but you get a gist of it. So what is the LLM that HACI is built on? We're starting with GPT 4.0. On top of that goes our curated content. A lot of investors ask me as I'm fundraising, why can't the teacher just go to ChatGPT? Yeah, then they'll get a generic answer. What if someone in Texas asks about their transgender policy? That's not going to work with the school district. So the first layer is GPT 4.0. The second layer is our expert curated content that we have K-12 leaders curating today. On top of that is the state policy and regulation. On top of that is every district's individual policies. I am not making this up. 3 days back, I was in a school district called Indian River in Florida. My sales team was talking to the superintendent, and I was like, oh yeah, in Florida, we have to be really careful because there's Moms of Liberty. And he said, they are from my district, literally. So that's how specific we have to be, that district by district, those policies. So when a teacher will ask a question, what is the transgender policy of this district, or how am I supposed to respond to this parent? Not only will they get the best answers, they'll also get the district specific answers. Just like Harvey AI, that state specific curated content and training our models is extremely important. So how big is the market? The total professional learning market of just public school districts. And I'm talking to investors about public school districts because I got that market. Elevate was one of the first companies that scaled the way they did. Of course, there are applications of this in the private school market. We're talking to universities, so started at the student teaching level. But overall today, $16 billion is spent by public school districts on a teacher's professional learning. We are only charging $84 per teacher per year. That is it. At $84 per teacher per year, which is the cost of $7 per month, 2 Starbucks coffees a month, a teacher is going to get their own coach. And the more they work with the coach, the more the teacher and the coach get trained in each other. Our coach has a voice, has an avatar, has a personality, but our coach also has a coaching style, which is a generic coaching style. And then every district can also load their coaching philosophies into it. So every district's coach will also have the district's coaching style. From a high level, and again, this is not a very updated deck, we have currently already booked $140,000 in sales. By July, we're going to touch about $450,000 in book sales. Elevate, my previous company at one point of time, was in 600 school districts. When it comes to contacts, we'll go get that. How to scale a sales team is one of the most difficult things that a founder will face as they go from seed to A to B to C. And that is something that we've nailed in the previous company. And I know that today. So while we are building the product and launching it in August, we've also started sales, not just for July, but also for next school year. Next school year, our target is to get to $4 million in book sales, and we've already started the pipeline building for that. I am not over projecting anything. Okay, this is a very, very conservative number. I want investors to believe in the you don't need to slash it by 20% and say what this will be. This is what I will very confidently get to by 2031. A $32 million annual revenue run rate through the public school district market, 93% gross margin, 43% EBITDA, and only 297 school districts. We are currently scaling fast in just 8 weeks of launch, and I'll move on to this. What's the advantage? In any AI play, it's the first launch advantage. But that's not it. If I can launch it in 3 months, someone else can launch it in 3 months. The first scaler advantage has to move parallelly with the first mover advantage. There is tons of funding going into AI and education right now. Companies are going from seed to A to B within 6 months to 1 year, 2 year, because the president just signed an executive order for AI in K-12 education. There is a ton of funding and grants going into the public school district right now. I also have a team that has done this before. Me, my CEO, my CTO, we are not first-time founders, first-time builders. We've all had exits. We've all done this. So we've also made a lot of mistakes. And in this one, we know what not to do so we can scale faster. This is just about the funding scenario here. So what is this round about? I'm raising a $2 million seed round. I've already have 600,000 wired. I started about 3 to 4 weeks back with my fundraising. I've had a lot of success raising with angel networks in my previous company. I had about 12 angel networks invest in Elevate early on. the value. And I was like, oh my God, I have so many answers when the panel was answering, because I've seen the benefit that angel networks can get. And that's what I'm doing again. I'm going to angel networks, raising my round, will go in product development, sales and marketing, and team growth. Exit. I'm very focused on the exit for Hasey AI. For any AI startup company, the data models that we build and the history that we generate with the curation is what is going to be extremely valuable to a giant player. In K-12, there are two main exits, and I want that event to actually happen by 2031, and we're working backwards from that. Yes, this company will continue. Yes, this company will keep scaling. But from an angel investor perspective, there's one thing I've learned from my previous company. I want you guys to have an exit by 2031. A large private equity buyout is very common in K-12, or a large K-12 company that has $300-400 million in sales will acquire you because they don't have the ecosystems to build that fast. So that's what I'm doing. I'm happy to take any questions and really looking forward to it.
Go ahead. So great. You're awesome. You're awesome. It was great.
Thank
So
you.
And you're going to do just such a good presenter. And obviously, you're incredible at what you do.
Thank you.
I just don't know why you're wasting your time here. And I don't mean in this room. I mean,
Like, why am I going to VCs?
I mean, I don't know why you're wasting your time in this country. Like, India has got the most amazing opportunity. I was literally speaking with.
And I had a chain of 7 schools in
I
India.
only say the name, I wouldn't know the names, I only say the name because it's relevant here. But Andre Agassi put tens of millions of dollars into a company called Square Panda. They wasted their fucking time.
Yeah.
Like, my kid went to the school, I love him to death, but he came out dumber every single day. It's like the worst education system ever. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
You may do fine right now because everything's all presidential and everything's wonderful, but half the country are gonna hate him and destroy everything that goes in there, and the other half of the country will humor him for like 3 more years.
Yeah.
So you have a problem, but India desperately needs this, and you can scale.
I know.
hundreds of millions of people.
So Brian, so here's what I'll say. I had a chain of 7 schools in India. So I understand the K-12 market. I had a chain of restaurants. If you guys have ever been to India and seen in the airport street foods, I built that and I sold street foods to Dabur. I will do all of that. I'm not just over confusing the early investors. Make sense?
I think you're fine here.
Yeah.
The opportunity is huge.
I
They went
totally agree.
tens of
I
millions in
totally
India.
agree. I totally
Zero
agree.
here.
I
Just headache.
I absolutely.
But you're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good pitch, but my question is the competitive analysis.
Mhm.
You said you're the first and only company to do this.
AI coach,
What-
yes.
What makes you different than Athena, who has an AI coaching ed tech platform? that-
Great question. So Athena gives they've been around for 13 years. They've raised $120,000. Okay. I've been on their platform and tested it. If you can't move fast with AI and you've only raised that, I don't take them as a worthy competitor. I'm extremely competitive. So half of the time when people know I'm entering a space, that scares them a little bit, which I love. But Athena basically is instructional coaching. So I am a person who's teaching, and Athena will give me coaching on my style of teaching. Every district wants that, but that's why the teachers are leaving. There is no support system for teachers beyond teach better, teach better, teach better. And that's why I said, I'm going to make what Brian said about user empathy. The new generation wants empathy. They want to know that you genuinely care. So it's more than just that. That's what it is. Yeah.
And I think that's something then that.
We also have a part of instructional coaching, but that's not the only thing we do.
Regardless of whether you feel they're a competitor or not, we need to see that on the competitor, because they are in your space.
Absolutely.
They are doing the AI coaching, they're doing feeling, and what are your thoughts on this student's interaction and how, I mean, they are doing some of that, so you need to still not say, it still needs to show as a competitor.
Point taken. Thank you. Yeah.
Srini first and you second.
You want me to go?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank
Oh my God, you're the AI LLM guy. Please don't ask me an LLM question. No. I will use your LLM. I promise. At some point of time. Done.
I'm pretty close to this space.
Yeah.
So, I like the problem statement. I'm not sold on the solution at all whatsoever.
Okay.
Because GPT-4, in addition 4.0 that you're betting a farm on GPT-4.0, It hallucinates at least 1/3 of the time, number one.
Mhm.
Number two, it cannot learn and adapt on the fly.
Mhm.
Therefore, there's a graveyard of companies, companion companies that have started in the mental health space for kids, for adults,
Mhm.
for older age people, especially in the care side, which is kind of the
Yeah.
direction you're heading towards. All of them, including Humane was the last one, they died. Not because they didn't have a compelling problem statement or they didn't have compelling hardware. The software was not ready for the problem that they're trying to solve.
Got it.
Right? I think you're going to get stuck in that absolute reality that's going to hit you.
Why don't we meet after a year? Why don't we meet after a year? Okay, how about that? Okay. I would love to prove you wrong, and if you're right, I will take you out for a drink. I would love to prove you wrong, and if you're right, I will take you out for a drink.
Before is already wrong, right? I mean, it cannot do it. They are open about it.
Right.
Talking about not your problem, but the underlying technology that you're on,
So
they can do.
we're not, again, I'm not that, I'm the one Indian who doesn't know how to code. I just know how to build companies and sell them. But either way, it's basic. GPT 4.0 is what we're starting with, but that's not the only LLM. But we can get technical, and I'm happy to answer your questions on that. Yeah.
One last question. Go ahead.
So just very quickly, I do have a friend who's my age.
Yeah.
Is a teacher, her husband is a teacher, and their daughter is in college now to become a teacher. So it can be a family profession. So I just texted her your slide and I said, is this something your daughter would use? And she just texted me back and said, yes.
Thank you.
So the daughter is 19,
Yeah.
and she's in her second year. So are you looking at selling this in part by getting the teaching students on board, not just by going to the school districts? Like if you get somebody like her.
So the answer is yes. So my chief operating office, so we're starting with public school districts. And again, when I pitch, I try not to confuse the investors with too much because you got to think about one thing and that one focus is important. So from this point of view, we're selling to public school district, but my COO sits on the board of University of Phoenix College of Education, and we're partnering with them in January. So we are every superintendent has told me, go backwards and start with the student teachers. And like Brian said, it's not limited to just US, but I got to focus first to get this off the ground. Once it's off the ground, then just curating the content and scaling, hopefully won't be that hard.
My second question was it's one thing to sell it into the school districts at the top, it's another thing for people to actually use it. So
Absolutely.
How are you doing that?
So a lot of it has to do, so there's a whole strategy on that. Number one is it has to be a part of their user workflow easily, right? If it's linked to their Outlook or if it's linked to their Gmail, A. B, single sign-on is a big thing in school districts. That absolutely will happen. The other thing is the product has to be cool. I can't force anyone to use anything, right? If the product is cool and they actually find value, they absolutely will come back. So the usage metrics and the activation, all of those are metrics that we'll beat. And we are only starting with 10 school districts to start with in fall, and then we'll add in October, we start adding more.
All right, thank you. Next up is Sinaptica.
Yes. And Shayla is going to be
Make a switch.
Yes, we will.
It's good. Yep. Are you sharing that way?
I don't know. Let me check for you.
Yeah. That one.
Okay.
All right.
Let me just find this. One thing you need to be.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, and something a little bit more stimulating than coffee. This is personalized brain stimulation for Alzheimer's. So I'm Ken Mariosh. I'm the CEO of Sinaptica Therapeutics. We have developed a personalized, non-invasive brain stimulation therapy for Alzheimer's, and it has achieved 2 randomized phase 2 controlled studies that were completely successful on every measure. Slowing cognitive decline in Alzheimer's, slowing functional decline in Alzheimer's, and even ameliorating the behavioral disturbances that we see in Alzheimer's. So completely successful results from our 12-month study that was just published in a major reputable journal, peer-reviewed journal. When was the last time you heard about an Alzheimer's therapy that was completely successful in every measure? It's been a while. So I'm excited to share that with you. So it's obviously a holy grail of medicine. All of us know somebody who's been affected by this horrific disease. And unlike other 100% fatal diseases, Alzheimer's engulfs the lives of caregivers in a way no other disease does. It's a slow motion train wreck that unfortunately I've seen twice up close and personal. And now, unfortunately, our co-founder, Rich McCary, was just up in Connecticut taking care of his mother, who's 92, and she's been kicked out of her nursing home because she's exhibiting behavioral disturbances like aggression and agitation. And he's at his wit's end. He doesn't know what to do. And I'm losing my president and co-founder because of this awful disease. It's very personal for us. And you might say, yes, but isn't Alzheimer's a graveyard of failures? Well, the new drugs do exactly what they're supposed to, but they're focused on the wrong target. Amyloid is what I call the usual suspect. We need to look at other suspects, some of which are hiding in plain sight. We need to go upstream of amyloid. Cleaning up amyloid is sort of like cleaning up the ashes after the house is burned down. We need to look at who started the fire. So neuroplasticity is a concept that means that when you stimulate neurons, simply put, they strengthen. Neuromodulation is electrical stimulation of the brain. In our case, we're magnetically inducing electrical stimulation, and we're focused on the key memory networks that drive human memory, which are most affected by Alzheimer's. The key technology unlock is pairing TMS with EEG. TMS is an established brain stimulation technology used for depression that's been around since 2008. But it's really firing in the dark. We don't know what we're actually stimulating with TMS. It's kind of crazy to say that, but you're using loose anatomical landmarks on the skull to hope that you're hitting the right targets in the brain. Well, now what you're seeing here is pairing TMS with EEG and sending single pulses to the brain. You can see how those signals reverberate around the brain in a complex pattern that reveals the structures you've just targeted. And in our case, the target is the default mode network. The default mode network is where we integrate memory. It is not too far to say that this is where you form your sense of self. Your reference to all the memories that have come before are consolidated in the default mode network. And if we stimulate it just right, we can light it up like a Christmas tree, I like to joke, and induce neuroplasticity network-wide using TMS with EEG to confirm that we've hit the right network. We do so through the precuneus, which is coming into view in the back of the head. It is where we stimulate, but the trick is to get the signals to propagate within the default mode network. That's the key to our technology and why we've been able to achieve such spectacularly positive results. Our scientific co-founders are at Harvard and at the Santa Lucia Foundation in Rome. They've been collaborating on this area of medicine and are the inventors of this key technology. Importantly, they've been funded by the Gates-backed ADDF 5 different times between them, and are authors of over 700 peer-reviewed journal articles, very well established in this field. These are the results from our first phase 2 study at 6 months. We were successful in the primary endpoint, the CDR sum of boxes. That's a global measure of dementia, which the FDA mandates for the approval of new drugs. We slowed down the disease by 82% on that measure. Statistically significant separation on the primary endpoint, so complete winner on the primary endpoint. On secondary endpoints related to cognition, ADAS-Cog and MOC, we also slowed the disease by quite a bit. And then on activities of daily living, we stabilized these patients. They lost no function. These are mild to moderate patients, and unfortunately, the placebo patients lost quite a lot of their function. That was published in Brain, the Oxford Journal. And now we have imaging data too that's been published that shows that we not only create new functional connections in the brain, we also preserve the microstructure of the cortices, and we even preserve the gray matter of the brain. That's a bold statement I just made. We're literally preserving gray matter tissue. This is done by an outside independent third party, the Oxford Brain Diagnostics Group. We did not pay them to do this, and it's published in a peer-reviewed journal last year. Now we've done it again. Another phase 2 study presented by Giacomo, our handsome co-founder, on stage at the world's largest Alzheimer's conference back in October 31st in Madrid. There was the audience in attendance. You could hear a pin drop because people have not seen this kind of data in a long time, if ever. These are the results, completely successful on every measure. On the primary endpoint, the global CDR, we showed that we slowed the disease by 44% in this case. ADAS-Cog and MMC, we also hit. Activities of daily living, we slowed down the disease. They lost 1.5 points on a 78-point scale. That's remarkable. They barely lost any function at 1 year. And these are patients who usually lose about 10% of function, which is exactly what the placebo lost, about 10% of their function on that 78-point scale. This is what we care about as caregivers. This is the ability of my mother to feed herself and dress herself and bathe herself and stay out of a nursing home or, God forbid, a memory care facility, which is not what we want and definitely what I can't pay for. So the NPI was also a bonus. This is the neuropsychiatric inventory. Some of the worst effects of Alzheimer's are agitation, aggression, hallucinations. Can you imagine you're trying to take care of your loved one and they're throwing things at you and accusing you of being a perpetrator? That's what I've seen up close and personal. We now have an effect on the NPI as well. So we hit the trifecta: cognition, function, and the behavior metrics. No drug that we're aware of has done this. And the worst thing that could happen to you with our therapy is a mild headache, which spontaneously resolves, or a little bit of scalp discomfort, a small price to pay for the preservation of everything that it means to be human. How does it work? Well, it's really complex. But in shorthand, what we're doing is we're inducing neuroplasticity. Simply put, when we strengthen neurons, when we stimulate neurons, they strengthen. We not only strengthen the synapses, but we also form structural changes in the neurons. We just got word just 2 days ago that our MOA paper on how this actually works at a molecular level has just been accepted in a major journal. So look for that in the next few weeks. We got FDA breakthrough designation. We're published in major journals and getting some great press. The Gates-backed ADDF came to us when they saw the 1-year results and said, this is amazing. We want to fund your next clinical study. That's where Bill Gates puts his money for Alzheimer's. His father died of Alzheimer's. We're also being helped by RBC, which is North America's biggest bank, because they see a huge IPO on the horizon for us. So it's a painless weekly therapy, 20 minutes, lay back in a recliner, you don't feel a thing. The only thing that's required is a simple finger prick blood test and an MRI. There are no other big contraindications to the therapy. We have our patents granted. We did our FTO, it's clean. We just got new reimbursement codes, which we wrote every line of, that are very specific to our therapy and could pay $20,000 a year, new codes just for us. So we make money by selling the device and charging per use, maybe $200,000 for the whole machine. That's the actual machine, by the way, that's not a mock-up, and $125 every time it's used. So $290,000 to Sinaptica per system per year from just 40 patients of 4.8 million on label. Our neurology customers are jumping for joy because we could make them up to 400,000 per system per year from just 40 patients. And our neurologist customers sometimes have hundreds of patients, not 40. So they would have multiple systems. So we built a financial model. I built a financial model that's highly parameterized and get us to 900 million in sales by year 7. That's what we could do on our own, just on label, just in the US. In the hands of Boston Scientific, they could scale this to 2 billion. How would I know that? Well, I was the head of strategy for Boston Scientific's Neuromod division. That's the very division that would acquire us. So I know very well exactly what Boston could do in their hands. We got a great team. Not going to spend time on that, but they're amazing. We got some great advisors, including some of the biggest luminaries in the field of Alzheimer's who agree this could be a huge breakthrough. Some commercial advisors as well who built the market for TMS for depression in the case of Chris Thatcher. So we're building on 5 to 6 million in non-dilutive funding. And then we raised a seed round with Time Zero Capital and Sony for about 1.6 million. Now we have a convertible note that's open, has a little bit left. It's funding a phase 2 study at multiple centers in Italy in early AD. If we're successful in early AD, we could double the LTV per patient. Why wait till the patient has moderate disease? Why not get to them as early as possible? So that study should read out by the end of 2026. We already have 25 patients enrolled out of 60. And Pure Land Ventures just joined this note. So that's our lead VC. The next step in our journey will be a $25 million Series A. We're already in discussions with some of the world's biggest funders. The pivotal study has a minimum of 5 sites and 120 patients. We could be on the market with 120 patients by 2028. Imagine that. A non-invasive therapy that works in Alzheimer's, that barely has any side effects, that's a moneymaker for neurologists and is patented, on the market by 2028. Oh, and oh, by the way, you can also add a drug on top of that too. So it has great combinatorial potential. That is very fast in the land of drug approvals to be on the market by 2028. And when we are, who could swoop in and buy us? Well, obviously Boston Scientific. They just bought Exonics. I was, part of looking at that deal for $3.7 billion. Medtronic has done a lot of deals in neuromodulation as well. Abbott, LivaNova, J&J. We're talking to many of these. GE, the CFO of GE hired me at Baxter 20 years ago. So a lot of exit potential from the acquirers, but if we don't get acquired, we could also IPO. So NovoCure is a great example of that. They built a business around a new neuromodulation device for glioblastoma. That's another 100% fatal brain disease. While Alzheimer's is like that, except Alzheimer's is 400 times bigger market. So that puts things into context in terms of exit potential. The $9 million note has a lot of, actually people in this room. The Keiretsu group is in there, about 40 investors in the Keiretsu group. We'd love to have others. We have Landmark Angels, Pure Land, we have Bootstrap, we have Randy Williams, who's the CEO of Keiretsu. We have the Keiretsu Fund. I could go on. We have about 60 investors already in the note, so it's almost fully allocated. We'd love to have this closed and rounded up in the last 2 months of this quarter. And it funds, of course, the phase 2 that we already mentioned, which is already rolling. So in summary, this is unprecedented efficacy. This is a huge breakthrough in the disease of the century. It's a patented moneymaker for neurologists. It's a precision medicine approach to brain stimulation. 2 phase 2s done, published in peer-reviewed journal articles at 6 months and 1. Oh, and by the way, which is one more thing, it also boosts human memory. So you and me and everyone in this room, we could have our memory boosted by 60 to 80% from one stimulation session. This was just published in February. Astounding results on memory enhancement. We're just beginning to wrap our heads around what we're going to do with this therapy. We didn't expect it to be so positive. But obviously, memory enhancement and healthy aging would be another multi-billion-dollar potential market for us. So that's it. I'm happy to take your questions.
First question. Yes.
Is your success dependent on FDA approval, or can you just target Europe and other parts of the world? Because it seems like it was originated in Italy, it's having its trials in Italy.
We are in constant contact with the FDA under the TAP program. We're meeting with them every 2 weeks sometimes because we're a breakthrough device in the TAP program. It's a 510(k) de novo path. There are special controls. They do require a pretty robust clinical data set and a safety data set to prove that it works and that it's safe. TMS is a very safe base technology, but they want to make sure that we can not only get efficacy, but not cause seizures and other kind of side effects. Not that we've seen seizures, we haven't, but it's a theoretical concern that they have. So yeah, it's a 510(k) de novo pathway.
So without the FDA approval, you're not able to exit.
Oh yeah, no, once we have FDA approval and only with 120 patients, by the way, we have it in writing from the FDA, they will accept 120 patients. That's a pretty small data set relative to thousands of patients, which would be required in a drug study. So only 120 patients will get us there randomized 2 to 1. So 80 treated and 40 placebo. That'll get us there with a 6-month endpoint. We have that in writing. So it's about a $17 million study. Yeah.
We have a question online?
Yes.
Okay. Does your device system have capability for other neuropathies?
Great question. Yes, TMS EEG is like a new biomarker. It's a new way to confirm target engagement of any network in the brain, not just the DMN. So Parkinson's dementia is one target. Stroke is another potential target for us. TBI, concussion, but really any neuropsychiatric disease state that has a network that can be probed with TMS EEG. So ADHD, OCD. We have a whole laundry list of of indications that we can go after, and our patent covers all of them. Our patent is not limited to any one indication. Amazingly, we got a very broad patent just last year on any brain disease. So yeah, really exciting platform technology.
Yes, can you give some more, you just mentioned patents, so what patents, can you generally describe the patents that have issued
Mhm.
and in what countries?
We have a US patent and PCTs around the world. The US patent is the one that's issued. The other ones are pending. It is it's a method patent that describes TMS EEG as a method to personalize brain stimulation with any kind of stimulation modality. So for example, if I wanted to use TMS EEG to find the right spot for HIFU, for example, that would be covered. As long as it's a non-invasive stimulation modality, our patents would cover that. So it's a new method of personalization. I have 3 questions. One, can China copy this? If you believe that they will adhere to patent laws, then no. But if you believe that the Chinese sometimes skirt around patents, then yes, they could.
There's enough info in your patents to do that, right?
We did file in China, but as we know, patents have sometimes limited ability to keep out competitors. When we were in Boston Scientific, we did launch many products in China, and we were pretty successful in holding off competition. But we know that it often doesn't work out that way.
Second question, what's your valuation?
We have, sorry, I should have said, we have a 55 million val cap on the note and a 20% discount payable in 2 years at 5 million or more in equity financing. 55 may seem like a lot, but we're not your average angel deal. We have patents issued. We have a product that's pretty much 90% done. We have a pathway to FDA approval. We have 2 phase 2s randomized controlled studies, both published. So we're a little bit further ahead than most angel deals, and it's an enormous market. So I think it's a little higher than most. There's reasons for that.
Bill Gates, an investor?
Through the ADDF, they are supporting us. Yes, and we're in process on a bigger investment of 3.6 million from the ADDF. So yes, his money will be going into our company along with Jeff Bezos's money and the Lauder family. So it would be nice if we had more people involved. But if I had to take Bill's money, I would love to.
Good pitch.
More questions? Yes.
What are your plans to commercialize the stuff that the rest of us can use?
It's such a good question. I just had 3 people each offer me to build a business plan to take some license to the technology, attract some new capital, and go after the cash pay market here because it's enormous. Anyone over 55 years old is already worried about their memory, let alone busy executives who want a memory boost, let alone those who might believe, not that we can prove it, that if you stimulate the network, you can maybe prevent dementia. That's a really hard thing to prove. It's a 10-year study, but it makes sense intuitively. I would love to honestly spin this out and make it a division of Sinaptica. We are 100% focused on Alzheimer's. That is the holy grail. But if we can also spin it off, I think we need to pursue the cash pay market because, I mean, my God, those data are amazing. 60% boost to memory. Modafinil, for example, boosts your memory by maybe 10, 15%, and that's if you're sleep deprived. I'm not very good at math, but like 60% is 4 times better than that.
Sorry if I missed it. How much are you trying to raise?
It's 9 million into the note, and there's about 1.2 left open of that that's unallocated.
And just from a personal standpoint, since you're an Alzheimer expert, I'm going to ask you the question. I've been doing sauna a lot because I heard that it reduces Alzheimer by 73%. Is that true?
You'll be doing sauna.
Yeah, going to the sauna a lot. Like 20 minutes of sauna every day because apparently cardiovascular disease are reduced by 53% and Alzheimer by 70%.
I come from Baxter and Boston Scientific, and there's levels of evidence, right? There's level 3 evidence, level 2, and level 1.
You're at 0, I'm at 0.
I would say that's not. So, you know, there's case control, there's animal data, there's non-controlled, there's, we believe in prospective, randomized, double-blind, sham-controlled, published, peer-reviewed data, level 1 studies only to prove something and make claims like that. No, I'm serious. We do science the right way where our team is involved. Yeah.
Maybe they sell saunas, I don't know.
Brian.
Yeah.
On the same level, our doctor sodas Guinness was good for us for like 30 years. And I commend what you do, and Alzheimer's is such a terrible, terrible thing, but you have to wait for somebody to be kind of thinking that they might have it before it becomes a thing. I just wonder if like parents are the same
with education as they are with baseball, then is there a play here for kids when they're very young and they're growing up? Like if you can really boost like clever people by 60%, that would seem very appealing to kids in school.
So we've had a lot of internal debate on what's the best application for memory enhancement. It's 3 minutes of stimulation and it lasts a week. That's pretty good. So I want chronic use. Kids taking the SAT, studying for an exam, sure. I mean, that's a cash pay market, but it's episodic, right? I'm more interested in the 55-year-old who's going to come in and they have time on their hands.
Isn't it long term? If you're using it over a period of time.
I guess I'm just more thinking of the episodic use of, oh, I have to use this for a few weeks as I cram for an exam versus I'm 55 years old. I'm going to do this every week for years. You know, where's the bigger market there? It's a debate. We don't really know. We're still wrapping our heads around the best application of this. Yeah. I want this, by the way. I would pay $200 a month for that memory enhancement.
I would too.
Yeah.
That's my point. This is longevity. Like it's not, and I know what you're doing. It's so much better. It's such a terrible thing, but like you can get people when they're relatively young and say, we can enhance your memory, create a better life. You can remember more stuff. You can do more things like it's a better life, especially as we live longer and longer. It's a longevity tool that starts when you're whatever age. Anyway, it's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. We're at the end of our presentations. We're going to vote on the text now. So she'll put up the slide. And if you guys can give us some feedback on each of the deals that we saw this afternoon, the second part, and love to do that. And then we will have some shout outs to those who helped us put this together. It's been a great day for everybody. And I'd like to thank everybody that helped us with that. But first, we're going to do the texting thing. And then we'll go forward from there. And then we'll go to the next thing. Wow.
Okay, so if you didn't receive the map, everybody receive or no?
Should have got a text.
Yes.
Is the yes or no on each of those?
As you're gonna vote on them. You're gonna reply which one of them you were interested. Oh, it's not showing what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
I think you got the idea.
Yes, I hope so. Yeah. Mhm. 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 Okay. Do the closing remark.
Feedback on the so.
It's not working.
I know.
I'm trying, but it's not working. It's not going down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. I want to thank everybody that helped us today. I want to thank Connie for Keiretsu, from Keiretsu for helping us put together the family office dinner last night, as well as this today with great speakers. I want to thank Parisa at TCA Ventures, helping us with that as well. We had the guys from Startup Steroid and Ty come in. We really appreciated their support as well. I want to thank Brian for Expert Dojo, marketing it out for us. We saw a lot of good activity going on there as well. And then Earl at Neutrino Donut, I want to thank him for his time and effort and support as well. We do these twice a year. We'll be back again in the fall. Looking forward to catching up with you as well. And then at last, we would like to invite you to a happy hour. We'll be at the Bodega Wine Bar over on Emerson Street. Oh, and we also want to thank Oracle for a great host here. This has been a great venue. We love everything that we had here. And we also have Accorto, who came and is working with us on regulatory solutions. We want to thank them for their support as well.
Yes, and this is where it's gonna be the happy hour, so everybody's very. Oh my God, sorry. It's not Palo Alto, it's Santa Monica, sorry about that. Sorry.
Stories of cutting.
Yes.
I promise you that was not AI generated. But yeah, no, thank you guys for coming and looking forward to seeing you over the happy hour. and wait till the traffic goes away and you guys can catch up. Thank you.
Thank you.